landscape sort of taking a shift, wherein you are seeing more and more international funding is receding, or in other words, not growing the way it used to be. The stipulations and regulations, on the other hand, that the government is increasing, and amidst all these challenges, the good part is the domestic philanthropy is in the rising spirit, as well as so as our corporate social responsibility. When the shift happens, normally the people either face challenges or take its opportunities for the non-profit sector. They are the major stakeholders who have a very critical capitalistic role in the philanthropic changes happen. So with this, today we are fortunate to have our two distinguished speakers with us, Mr. Amit Chandra, a visionary philanthropist and a co-founder of esteemed Foundation, and Mr. Arjun Ranga, the chairperson of Grassroots Philanthropy Movement Board of Trustees, as well as the MD of Graaam and Son, who himself, the family is a philanthropist, the family, in fact, will say from this part of the country. And with them actually, they share their insights on how philanthropy is shaping the fortune of non-profit organizations, the importance of impact measurement, and whether the grassroots organizations are better positioned to drive our economic and financial year 2025. The multi-dimensional inequality and poverty continue to persist in India. Of course, in the recent discussion paper from the NITI Aayog in 2024, India made a tremendous progress in reducing the multi-dimensional poverty, but of course it's from 29.17% to 11% in the 9 years, and the expected goal is to reach 1%. So now let's have 1% multi-dimensional poverty, but we are at 11% as well. And India's social sector spending as a percentage of GDP grew from 8.6% in the financial year 2021 to 9.6% in 2022, and due to 35% growth rate in public spending. But despite this progress, India remains very short of GRAAM estimate to total annual funding required to achieve the UN Sustainable Development. That is 13% is the deficit what they are estimating. And of course, on the other hand, private philanthropy is required to step up and play a capitalistic role in bridging the funding gap as well as the development gap in India. And we are also seeing the FCRA amendment in a way started impacting the country's philanthropic landscape. The private body is giving gifts by almost 3% from financial year 2021 to 2022. The last one fiscal year it is increased by 3% due to FCRA amendment, and the expected growth trajectory suggests that future growth may be affected by a global shifting funding priorities. And private philanthropy in India surged by 10% in financial year 2020. And corporate social responsibility, family philanthropy, USNI, SNI, and affluent individuals and retail giving cumulatively contributed to about 86% of private philanthropy in India and are expected to remain the foundation of private giving in India. And CSR spending has grown at 13% over the last 5 years, reaching 3.3 billion Indian rupees, 27,000 crores in financial year 2022. While it grew at lower pace in 2022, we expect it to sustain its historical growth and reach 6.4 billion, that is 52,000 crores by 2026. With this background, all the sir, as I'll start the conversation, engaging a conversation with you, and as I try to give you the landscape scenario, and as well as some of the statistics with respect to the changing philanthropic landscape in India, how can grassroots organizations best position themselves to tap into growing domestic philanthropy and as well as the CSR opportunities in the country?
Thank you so much for I really enjoyed the session for this time, and many of the points that got covered there actually resonated with me. I'm essentially an optimist by nature. While I do understand the situation that national organizations face, for the simple reason that my wife herself becomes a larger largest organization in the country that deals with disability. So there is a big lot of life that passes that I don't imagine having a conversation about the challenges of running an organization, particularly in a space that really underserved and difficult. Now, with that backdrop, let me give you my perspective on on some of the things that I heard and your question. I do understand that in the last 4 or 5 years, there have been a number of challenges. Some of them we touched upon, some of them I heard in the before. Burden of much greater compliance studies, requirements from the 7 owners of major MNEs, general decline in funding from one segment, which was essentially SCRA. And all of that, I think, has landed up dominating the discourse on this subject. However, my own perspective is that at this point of time, we probably the division is in this financial. And I don't say that as usually as a mic. I say that basically because there are a number of structural things which are happening, which if organizations really capture, and not every organization is going to be able to capture it, but if organizations really are able to capture it, I think they will truly be able to solve problems that we try really hard to solve inside the country. Now, what are those structural changes? If you look at the overall funding pie at this point of time, SCRA, for all the noise that we make about it, has somewhat declined over the last 5 years and is now under 20% of the overall funding available to the philanthropic sector. But it's massively bought by a completely new pool of capital, which is CSR, which didn't exist a decade ago. Importantly, that pool of capital is growing at a rate of 10 to 15%. And for the first time, the social sector has a predictable pool of capital which is available, which was never the case earlier. And you can actually therefore go back and look at people who are planning ahead with a 2-3 year horizon and are laying capital out. And this number now is the largest source of capital on
that I think it's very difficult for single NGOs to go and try to solve problems. Let me put in perspective that there was an analysis done by Satwa, which I think is a Bangalore-based organization, which caught my attention, that if you look at the top 200 NGOs in India, the median budget of the top 200 NGOs is some number in the 20 crore range. So imagine, you're trying to solve the most important problems of our lifetime, far more important problems than what corporates are dealing with. And the 200 most important organizations have a 20 crore budget. It's like going and fighting, a battle with one of our neighbors along, with a cookery knife. I mean, it's completely a disproportionate battle. So what we really need to step back and think about is how are we going to fight these battles, be it issues of gender or education inequity or health or any of the big issues which have in some cases existed for centuries. And that requires reimagination of the way we work. It also requires reimagination of what the role of not-for-profits is. Now, for a long time, I personally believe that many not-for-profits have thought that the purpose of the organization is the purpose of the cause. Let me just pause and try to explain that. If we believe that the organization is more important than the cause, and I think because of that, we've had proliferation of lakhs of NGOs in the country. So the first question we got to really ask ourselves is, are we trying to solve a problem or are we trying to build organizations? We got to ask that question really, really hard, because I do believe that in many cases we need maybe fewer organizations and the same set of talent and resources needs to be in smaller number of well-resourced organizations, both with human capital and financial capital. It's a difficult decision because, often people put the organization before the cause, and it's a question of human behavior, but I think this is an important question we got to ask even before it goes to collaboration. So this is the first question of reimagination in my mind that we need to ask ourselves. The second question of reimagination is the role of the NGO itself. Now, I think, NGOs cannot necessarily solve a problem by themselves. Why? Because to solve a problem, you require reach, you require a lot of capital, right? If you look at the total capital available with all the NGOs, which is essentially the philanthropic capital available in the country at this point of time, it is less than 2% of the capital available for the same social issues with the government, correct? Miraculously, if we became a much more giving society and doubled that overnight, it will become 3 or 4%. Even if the efficiency of that improves materially, it will become 5 or 6%. We still will not be able to solve the problem. Therefore, the best thing that we can do as not-for-profits is do things that the government cannot do, right? Which is, the government cannot take risk. The government is not nimble, so it cannot build good mousetraps, i.e. solutions, right? So what we need to do is really make sure that we are not replicating things that the government can do. We can do experimentation, we can create deliveries, solutions which governments cannot necessarily do. And then importantly, we can partner with the government to change their approach so that governments ultimately solve problems. This reimagination is very important. I was in Ladakh 2 weeks ago, and I saw the work being done by one organization, 17,000 feet, which basically went to Ladakh 20 years ago and pioneered how a solution which is a hardware come software solution can go and rebuild education in schools in frontier regions. That has now become a template for all Himalayan range schools, right? They cannot themselves do it in all the Himalayan areas, but it's become a template now which the government of India is adopting in its Vibrant Villages program, right? That, in my mind, is a good example, and I can give you many examples I have seen where NGOs are building interesting templates which can get embedded into government programs. So I think we have to reimagine the role, and we have to think of these as partnerships between civil society and governments. And, you know, in the previous conversation, the role of partnerships between NGOs also came up. Very important. I think there, you know, it's sometimes difficult for NGOs themselves to build these partnerships. So I do think it's the responsibility of people who are funders, who can act as system aggregators and try to, you know, bring people together who have capability in different areas. I mean, most of my work is with farmers. So one of the things we do is we bring people who have capability in different areas. We work with a organization that understands technology for, you know, for water, and we'll bring someone who has grassroots capabilities in delivery, and we'll bring someone who has M&E capability, and we'll weave the solution together so that ultimately you have a full solution for water. I think that is the role for players, you know, like ourselves. I know, you know, the Nilankanis do that a lot here. They're doing it with mental health, and I know a number of others do that in verticals that they're interested in. I think increasingly we need to see that happen, where people play the role of synthesizing organizations who have great capability in individual areas, and then getting them together to provide solutions which can get integrated into government programs. So I think we need to reimagine philanthropy, but I do believe that the collaborative part of it that you asked is critical, and that collaboration is on multiple dimensions. It is collaboration between NGOs, collaborations between foundations, and collaborations certainly with the government.
So what a really interesting thought. Basically, what I get from that, the entire thing is, this kitty, however it is small, but it should be used for innovation, used for experimentation, used for coming out with effective solutions actually, so that which can be probably taken up by government to scale and implement it across. But unfortunately, rather than ensuring collaboration in this way, many governments, in fact, directly reaching out to the corporate social responsibility organizations and philanthropists, demanding, not even expecting, demanding to invest on the core infrastructure development issues, for example, build schools, build toilets, that kind of mundane and regular things which otherwise should have been done by people's money through government's exchequer. So what's your thought and take on this?
Yeah, I scratch my head on that. And look, and I think, it's really unfortunate. There are companies who always fall, who feel the compelling need to succumb to such requests, and it's unfortunate that they do. But I do feel that it's a pity, because it takes away money from what could actually have gone to the social sector to do the kind of things that I talked about. I just want to make one clarification. What I am suggesting is that not all money go towards simply experimentation, etc. Because, look, there are two other important functions that I think, NGOs, fill. One is, governments are like elephants, okay? And when elephants dance, they do not cover the whole room. So there are large parts of a room which are uncovered, right? And which are basically missing gaps, and those can only be filled in any sector by small organizations. So I think it's very important that those last miles be filled by someone who's local, and I think that's a very important function. So I think that's one area which is important to recognize. The other is advocacy. You always need someone who's stepping back and who's observing and who's advocating. And I think so. I do want to say that when I'm saying reimagine, I'm not saying for a moment that those two things should be neglected.
Yeah. And now another major segment, and in other words, the challenge the NPO sector is facing is the increasing focus on impact measurement and compliance. While it is good, like as Decker said, It is not, things which are not measured are not managed, but it's important to measure the impact. But many small and grassroots organizations are struggling to keep up. Although they might be doing an impactful work, but to show it, they are doing an impactful work. How can large-scale donors and CSR arms provide more than just financial support and offer them such capacity building as well as help these organizations to adapt to these expectations?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think it is an imperative for both large donors to fund capacity building in the country. I mean, we were probably the first major donor to build a capacity building vertical when we did in 15 years ago, and I don't think we built it because of vision. We built it because my wife thought I was an idiot for not doing it. And it was by having dialogues with her and asking questions to her and then realizing what the pains of a grassroots leader was, that we decided that the first thing we decided to do was actually build a capacity building vertical. And it's thanks to that now if I look at the things we do in capacity building, we've trained 2,800 leaders via 15 different programs. I know Common Purpose got mentioned in the prior session, but there are 14 other programs that we worked with, and 2,800 leaders in 1,500 NGOs have got trained. And we believe a lot in training leaders. We believe also in scaling, platforms, be it platforms like Give India or IDR or CSIP. I mean, these are all things that we've been involved in, building and supporting from their early stage, mainly because we felt that the sector needs platforms that's small, medium size, and large NGOs. All of them can benefit in order to be able to grow. So we've, over the last, I would say 15 years, increasingly now encouraged other donors also to enter that space, because we want to make sure that the resources available are a multiple of what they have been available when we started. And we are very, very happy. We just did a review last week. We've seen now that from when we started, there are at least 15 new players now who are funding capacity building initiatives. And importantly now, I think CSR recognizes that they need to fund capacity as well. I was hearing thereby in the previous session. I do feel NGOs on the other side, he was making a very relevant point. They need to also ask, and they need to also be aware. Lots of times, when I've had conversations with NGO leaders, they often don't ask for help, and they often, will not build a capacity building component into their funding proposals. And I think it's very important for people to ask the question. I often ask people that, have you pointed out to your donor that if they are a user of soap, whether when they bought that soap, did they ask what the salary of the MD was, or how much research money was spent on making that soap, or how much distribution commission the outlet took when selling? If they don't, if the answer to those questions will all be no, they will understand if you're asking for 10%, right? I mean, you have to put it in language that donors will also understand. So if you simplify that language, everyone who's reasonably logical gets it. And I've generally realized that more and more people are beginning to get that language. I think more people need to ask, and I have seen a lot of people now cross over and start giving, but I think more people need to start asking as well. And certainly I think what people like us need to do is we need to start doing things that we were not doing earlier. So earlier we were building funding platforms, we were building knowledge platforms, we were building training platforms. Now we are thinking of building technology platforms, we are thinking of M&E platforms. So we are also changing what other people are not doing, we are trying to do now.
It's very good to hear. In fact, I think it's an input to the NPO sector leaders actually, that I think it is fundamentally and primarily we need to ask. It's now up to us what we need to understand, what are our capacity building needs are, the training needs are, and systemic needs are, and then express it. But probably I think unfortunately we are still haunted by our past experiences when many a times donor kind of rejected that kind of the request. In fact, in my own personal case, when we went, proposed a capacity building requirement, the donor, reacted, see, in fact, we are giving you this project because thinking that you have this capacity. But if you are asking me the same money to build that capacity, why should I come to you? That was the question they asked. Okay, probably I think this kind of past experiences, NGO sector has to come out and probably put forth the requirements actually. Now I'll probably engage with Mr. Arjun Ranga and probably give some couple of minutes break to you. Yeah, as someone involved in with philanthropic initiatives, in fact, I know personally that you have been donating to various causes as a family, as an individual. How do you see the relationship between corporate philanthropy and grassroots organization is evolving? Of course, we are celebrating 10 years of the CSR. Actually, what probably we might have learned, and it is evolving. Are corporates willing to invest in long-term community-centric initiatives, or it is still a preference for short-term impact project? I'm very consciously using the word impact, the way they many a times some corporates use actually 1 year impact, the kind of a thing actually. So what is your take on this?
Now, firstly, greatly honored to share the dais with you. Impact, I'd like to say that you're my earlier generation. So, so the generation before me has set, which includes my father and uncles before me, is truly inspiring to my generation. Okay, and then we have the next generation that's coming after us. The entrepreneurial spirit of the nation, I think, is at the cusp of just catapulting. Social impact entrepreneurship, we are seeing social entrepreneurship is, on the get-go. You look at the US, I think 1984, they were, I think, a $4 trillion economy, more or less where we are. And what prevents us in the next 20 years to scale the way the US did? So India, in the next 25 years, is just going to be amazing. You'll see growth stories across the board. There will be so many people who want to make the difference to this country, because the country will start giving back to us like never before. And I think NPOs can really, really play a significant role in transforming, the dreams that we all had for a better India and a better tomorrow. And you'll see contributions across the board, from HNIs creating bigger war chests for contributing. You'll start seeing corporates going beyond just their 2%, because I'm now seeing that a lot of companies are moving towards becoming more a purpose-led brand than a vision-led brand. Right? We want to make a difference, and we want to make an impact. So I think NPOs need to actually understand long-term vision and purpose of organizations, align with the organization's goals and interests, and then customize products and packages that align with long-term vision. What's typically happening, exactly like what Mr. Amit said, a lot of NPOs are stuck with who they are, right, and are not willing and are not flexible to understand what is required. And also, one of the bigger initiatives that we went and did, and it's just an example, about 6-7 years ago, I wanted to do something for water management in Mysore. So we worked with a local NPO and then said, okay, let us revive 2 big lakes, because Mysore has so many lakes, let's revive lakes. It's a small sum, some 40 lakhs we invested, 20 lakhs each for each lake. We got the entire lakes redone, beautifully done, walkway around the lake, all of that, and then we put fish in, and the lakes were revived, beautiful, everything was done. But the NGO forgot to actually integrate with the local community. So in 6 months' time, the local Tahsildar connected the local area's drainage pipe into that water. So the entire initiative went for a toss. Right? So NPOs today are kind of becoming agnostic of the local community. They're looking at projects, they're looking at value, they're measuring short-term impact. So the moment you look at short-term impact, you're also looking at short-term projects only. So with me, what I've realized is most NPOs need to take an approach of looking at a long-term community impact initiative that is demonstrated to a short-term project that demonstrates impact. So you kind of pilot with a short-term project that then scales into a long-term initiative where you actually get capacity building done through the organization that you're working with, through volunteers from the company. Volunteerism is increasing tremendously. So any initiative that my company now partakes in, we have a lot of people who are stepping up from our company who are saying, we will step in. My supply chain guy has actually stepped in to say, I'll help integrate the NPO supply chain. My CFO is saying, I'll come and help the NGOs, finance management better. So capacity building is, I think, quintessential for the growth that the country is going to take. And if an NPO says, I will build my capacity on my own, it's not going to happen. It's not even tenable, because the amount of effort and initiative that you have to invest in it is not going to be, practically possible. You have to work with organizations that are willing to partner with you for the long term through short-term projects where you can actually demonstrate impact. Impact assessment is a given. PR, learning how to do PR, making a 1-minute reel is also is a given, okay, in this generation and the generation next. And social awareness is increasing so much, and we are a giving nation, right? I think crowdsourcing is an amazing tool. Technology will enable it a lot more, and you will see that becoming a very, very soon reality where you can collect funds en masse, right, with short-term projects and impact that will help you do long-term sustainable projects. So adding to what Mr. Amit Chandra said, it's going to be amazing in this country. Okay? There'll be funding aplenty. You need to learn how to tell stories and stories of impact. You need to actually demonstrate change with short-term projects that lead into long-term community commitments. And engaging with the local community is a given, no matter who you are, what you are. And that's only the way it can sustain in the long term. That's my 2 bits.
That's interesting points, actually. Of course, I have a couple more questions, but I think the guest on the other side here are not going to spare me if I keep asking the question and not giving an opportunity to interact, actually. So now the floor is open for all the audience to have your questions, talk to Mr. Chandra and Mr. Ranga.
No, very good point, sir. My name is Jayadath Bhatt. I am PhD scholar in National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience in psychiatric social work specifically. So my question is with regard to implementation of Mental Health Care Act only. There is section 18 particularly which says that mental health care and treatment needs includes aftercare, running the long stay home, those kind of facilities which the government of the day has to do. It is a statutory obligation under the Parliamentary Act, which is enacted after India's signatory of the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities there. So if it is an international obligation, we are falling below, and there are court monitorings also on those issues where the learned additional chief secretaries of various states are made parties, and they find very difficult. And there are some NGOs, I will come to briefly to my question after telling short context. So the issue is, sir, the Mental Health Care Act says that only mental health professionals are clinical psychologists, psychiatric social worker or psychiatrists who are duly qualified. So if any NPOs or the NGOs have to serve to that particular field, at least they have bare minimum which the legislation requires them to serve to the community. Any kind of volunteer may help them to resource mobilization, etc. But the services has to be given to qualified person. And these qualified person will obviously ask some salary. Even district mental health program, those success also in Uttarakhand and other state. The issue is about mobilization of the resources. If the psychiatrists from prominent institutions are studying there, at least 1,10,000 will be the minimum, bare minimum they have all, like they want to serve to the country, but that is the bare minimum they want. So how this NPO can come and help the country where there is a clinical establishment act, mental health care rules, they have to obtain proper permission. So we don't want to do disservice by service. So what is the solution? Because you have touched some of the points. These are the problem I am putting because you are the expert. You have to lead this country and help us to get through this, because a lot of people with homelessness, long stay patient will be rehabilitated in that. Thank you.
Thought about that? Okay.
I must confess this is completely out of my area of expertise, but I know there is a seminal event happening this weekend in Bangalore, which is a convening on exactly this topic by the Rohini Nilankani Philanthropies, and many experts in mental health are getting together to discuss issues which I suspect are very similar to what you've talked about. They're getting together, NGOs across the country, philanthropists across the country. Unfortunately, while I was invited, I couldn't be there. And I don't know whether it's an open forum. If it is, I would urge you to basically go there, and I'm sure issues like this, given it does sound like a very serious issue, will probably be better covered in that forum than in this forum.
Thank you.
I think mental health is a very, very serious issue that our country faces and will continue to face in the future. For us as well as a family, mental health is extremely, extremely personal as well. So we've set up depression treatment clinics. We've just started 4. We have 2 in Delhi, 2 in Bangalore right now. It's called Mindful TMS Neurocare, where we do, magnetic stimulation treatment for people with depression. So I'll get your contact. I'll speak to our department head and see if we can allocate some part of it for mental health care for the underprivileged. We have not done that, but I think it's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Well, my name is Dinesh, and I'm from Tare Zameen Par, an NGO called Tare Zameen Par. And I like the point that you mentioned with whatever the limited fund of 2 to 5% that can be actually used for creating some R&D and see, we are doing similar work actually. We have invented something called a mobile planetarium, a portable planetarium, and we have also integrated a virtual reality inside the dome, and it is meant to be taken to the last mile of the country. And we have reached quite a good number of schools in the rural India, pan India. The biggest challenge that we're facing is whoever is donating, they want us to do it around the metros, the cities, because they have a visibility, that is one thing, and also they can showcase that. And for an NGO also, it is easier for them to execute it if it is nearby cities. And actually, if you actually look at
Dinesh, thank you for what you do, and I loved your question. This is literally, I think, something I hear. I travel a lot across the country, and I hear this so often I can't tell you. And I think the best way to address this problem is that organizations need to build a very, very important muscle. Well, actually, it's 2 muscles. The first muscle is to be able to document something in a manner that is credible. Okay, it's not an easy muscle to build. Okay, and I say that knowing fully well that I've seen a lot of organizations struggle to be able to go out and tell that story on a platform where the hope is that it'll stick and resonate, and you don't know where exactly it'll resonate. Okay, now the reason I say that is that I fully understand that often you get funding from someone who's very, very parochial, i.e. they care about impact which is in their backyard. Okay, most CSR donors unfortunately are like that. They are funding things because they care about showing something to a particular constituency. Okay, foundations may think about things a little bit differently. Retail donors care probably the least, right? But as NGO leaders, often you care more about the cause, right? Which is every child may be alike to you. The pain of a woman in one state may be the same as the pain of a woman in another state, right? And so when you document something and you show that your solution works, and you do that in a credible way, and then you go onto a platform and you tell that story, right? You will be surprised that could resonate either with another NGO leader somewhere else, or IAS officer who's reading it. That IAS officer could be in a state government or it could be in the central government. And that's ultimately how change basically gets viral, right? And I'm not talking something theoretical, I'm talking something practical. Lot. And ultimately, to facilitate all this, this is exactly why we are investing in platforms like IDR, right? IDR, when it originally came to us as an idea, was a small idea, and today it has 1 million viewers a month, right? So when you document something and you put it on a platform like IDR, you know that it's going to be read by many people who hopefully can do something with that idea, right? And it's important, and today, of course, other than IDR, you know, the power of YouTube and Instagram and everything else is enormous. But I would encourage, you know, every NGO to invest in these two capabilities to be able to make impact which is far, far beyond their backyard.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I'm really not feeling like we should end this conversation and conclude here. You have, I think, something to...
Yeah, I think just to add to what Mr. Amit just mentioned, see, we run a school for blind girl children from last 32 years, okay? We have quite a few girl children who have passed through the school, and our focus predominantly, the long term for the family and our foundation is girl children, educating girl children with disabilities and underprivileged. Predominantly, we focused on that. And mostly in Mysore, where we are from, we said we'll first help our community do what best we can in this surrounding area where we are present. I think one of the NGOs has done a detailed analysis of what we've been doing, focusing on girl children. They prepared a presentation and come and said you can actually make an impact in Tamil Nadu in one of the districts where there are about 40 girl children who are visually impaired, where you can actually make a difference, and then they did a presentation and we went ahead and did it. So they aligned their goals to what we wanted. You created a device and you say, okay, now I want to take this device to North Karnataka, you please give me money to go to North Karnataka. Nobody is actually going to do that. You need to align yourselves with people or organizations who are aligned with educating government school children, educating, and then align your process, like what Sir said, with stories, with actual stories, and then go and pitch. Because quite a few NGOs have come and talked to us and said, give us money, but then not with a clear direction or a story or an impact study or what can make a difference in that community. And so we are now doing projects both in Andhra Pradesh as well as Tamil Nadu, exactly aligned with what we want to do in our long-term goal. Okay, and they're creating stories for us in that community as well, that we can tell in our bigger goal.
Thank you, Mr. Arjun. Yeah, one last question.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. Thank you for the last opportunity. So I am Meenakshi from Tamahar Trust. We work in the space of childhood disability, developmental delays due to brain damage. The children we work with are moderate to severely affected. My question is, when talking about impact, donors, they want impact numbers, they want success stories. For me, for a success story, success means if a child look at its mother and tells, Amma, it is the greatest of success for us. We cannot run Olympics or take first rank. So how this impact really matters to a donor, I wanted to know. Also about numbers, they are keen on giving to education. We supported 1,500 students, 2,000 students. We will have 80 students, 100 students with their families. So that is how much we can do. So how do donors see this, and what are you having to say for this, sir?
What's your name again? I'm so sorry.
Meenakshi.
Meenakshi.
Yes.
Meenakshi, thank you so much for the work you do. My wife has been doing this for 17 years, and I know people who do this are truly special, especially if they do it because there's no one in their family who's been impacted by it. Because
Sir, this cause is very close to my heart. I am a mother of a special child. He has got multiple disabilities with intellectual disabilities. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so
you are really right.
Yeah, so I visit her school often, and it's the oldest institution in the country which does work in this space. So this is a cause which is very dear to both her and my heart. And this question, I have heard her answer this question very often to to donors. And I know when she took over the organization, it was close to bankruptcy. It was very difficult to meet ends meet, and now it has, you know, a corpus, and the journey to that has been answering questions exactly like this. My learning, so my answer is not my original, my answer is the answer that she gives. I think change in all these cases is often the change that happens in the lives of the families as opposed to the lives of just the child, because often what people underestimate is how much making a child very simply functional, which often most people underestimate, what that can mean to from a principle of inclusion or from a principle of independence to a mother or a father or a brother or a sister. And I'm sure you understand that, but I don't know how much all of us would. I certainly didn't when my wife started working in the area. Often when you have a child with special needs, it means multiple members of the family often have to stay at home and can't step out. And that obviously means a financial burden, it means a social burden on the child. And so to be able to explain to donors that when you often over a period of many years are able to make that child slightly more independent, you're really transforming the life of a family and not just of a child. That is impact. I think then people start really getting it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for that wonderful thoughts. Friends, I know, so we have a lot more to discuss, a lot more to kind of exchange our thoughts and ideas. But of course, there's a time in the tea break now, soon after this session, and we'll have to start the main event. And here I conclude for now. And thank you so much for your engaging discussion and participation. And over to Tanya for the further proceedings.
Thank you. Thank you to our esteemed speakers. We've really had some engaging conversations thus far. I know we all need a break, but before we do break for tea, we would like to honor a long-time special supporter who's been with us all through these 10 years. I invite Ms. Fatima before that, I also request Mr. Arjun Ranga to kindly present Mr. Amit Chandra with a token of our appreciation. And now, before we break for tea, we do have a special appreciation. Ms. Fatima?
So we take this moment to honor one of our supporter and the long-time supporter of a GRAAM, Mr. Shiv Shankar. Please come up on dais. I'll request all the dignitaries to honor.
Thank you very much for the
Thank you. Thank you so much to our dignitaries and to Dr. Baswaraju as well. We now break for tea. We shall reconvene at 5:30 in the same auditorium for our decennial celebrations. Thank you. Yes, the tea is right outside the auditorium to your right. Thank you.
ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಆಸನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಹಿಂದೆ ಕುಳಿತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಆತ್ಮೀಯರನ್ನ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆಸನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ಆಸೀನರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಸಭಾಂಗಣದ ಇಂದಿನ ಆಸನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಕುಳಿತಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಆಸನಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಆಸೀನರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ನನ್ನ ಸಹೋದ್ಯೋಗಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮನವಿ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಪ್ಲೀಸ್. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಮುಸ್ಸಂಜೆಯ ನಸುಕಿನ ವೇಳೆ ವರುಣಾರ್ಭಟದ ವಿರಾಮದ ಈ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಅದ್ದೂರಿ ಆಗಮನದ ಸಾಕ್ಷಿಯಾಗಿ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವ ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ದಶಮಾನೋತ್ಸವ ಮತ್ತು ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಹೃದಯ ತುಂಬಿದ ಸಂತಸದಿಂದ ಹಾಗೂ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸೋಣ. ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನವೀನ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು. ನವೀನ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರು ಸಹಾಯಕರು, ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ.
ಧರೆಗವತರಿಸಿದೆ ಸ್ವರ್ಗದ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧಿಯು ಸುಂದರ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು, ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು. ದೇವಿ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಸೊಬಗಿನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಲಸದಳವು ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಲಸದಳವು ಧವಳ ಹಿಮಾಲಯ ಮುಕುಟದ ಮೆರುಗು ಕಾಲ್ತೊಳೆಯುತ್ತಲಿದೆ ಜಲಧಿಯ ಬುರುಗು ಗಂಗಾ ಬಯಲಿದು ಹಸಿರಿನ ಸೆರಗು ಕಣಕನ ಮಂಗಲವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ಕನಕನ ಮಂಗಲವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ಕಾಶ್ಮೀರದಲ್ಲಿ ಸುರಿಯುವುದು ತುಹಿನ ರಾಜಸ್ಥಾನದಿ ಸುಡುವುದು ಪುಲಿನ ಮಲಯಾಚಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಗಂಧದ ಪವನ ವಿಧ ವಿಧವೂ ಫಲವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ವಿಧ ವಿಧವೂ ಫಲವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ಪುಣ್ಯವಂತರಿಗೆ ಇದುವೇ ನಾಕ ಖಳರಿಗೆ ಆಗಿದೆ ಶಿವನ ಪಿನಾಕ ಶರಣಾಗತರಿಗೆ ಅಭಯದಾಯಕ ಯುಗ ಯುಗದಿ ನಿಲುವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ಯುಗ ಯುಗದಿ ನಿಲುವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ಧರೆಗವತರಿಸಿದೆ ಸ್ವರ್ಗದ ಸ್ಪರ್ಧಿಯು ಸುಂದರ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ನಮ್ಮಿ ತಾಯಿ ನೆಲವು ದೇವಿ ನಿನ್ನಯ ಸೊಬಗಿನ ಮಹಿಮೆಯ ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಲಸದಳವು ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಲಸದಳವು ಬಣ್ಣಿಸಲಸದಳವು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ತಾಯಿನೆಲದ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾರ್ಥನೆ ಗೀತೆಯನ್ನು ಹಾಡಿದ ನವೀನ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈಗ ಈ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಗಣ್ಯರನ್ನು ಆಗಮಿಸುವಂತೆ ಕೋರುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್, ನಿವೃತ್ತ IAS ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಸದಸ್ಯರು, ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಯ ಆಡಳಿತ ಮಂಡಳಿ, ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಪೀಠ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಈ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್. ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಅಮಿತ್ ಚಂದ್ರ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಸಹ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಪಕರು ATE ಚಂದ್ರ ಫೌಂಡೇಶನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಬೇನ್ ಕ್ಯಾಪಿಟಲ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಅಡ್ವೈಸರ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ MP ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಮಿತಿ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಸರ್ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಅರ್ಜುನ್ ರಂಗ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾಪಕ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಎಂಡ್ರಾಗ್ರಾವ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸನ್ಸ್ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ದ್ವಾರಿಕಾ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಪ್ರಭಾರ ಉಪಕುಲಸಚಿವರು RV ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ R ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಪಕರು SYM ಮತ್ತು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಸದಸ್ಯರು ಮಾನವ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲ ಸಾಮರ್ಥ್ಯಾಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಆಯೋಗ, ಭಾರತ ಸರ್ಕಾರ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಬಸವರಾಜು ಆರ್ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ಕಾರ್ಯನಿರ್ವಾಹಕ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬಂದು ಆಸೀನರಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈಗ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳನ್ನು ಸನ್ಮಾನಿಸಲು ಬರುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಭಗವಾನ್ ಬಿದರಕೋಟೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತಿಸಲು ಬರುತ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಭಗವಾನ್ ಬಿದರಕೋಟೆಯವರು, ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ.
ನಡೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗ್ರಾಮ್ನ ದಶಮಾನೋತ್ಸವ ಸಮಾರಂಭಕ್ಕೆ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತೇನೆ. ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ಐ ಆಮ್ ಸೋ ಪ್ರಿವಿಲೇಜ್ಡ್ that today I get an opportunity to welcome all the dignitaries who are on the stage and as well as you. We have a dynamic leader, public servant, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, a senior IAS officer from the Karnataka cadre of 1986 batch, has been a member of Central Administrative Tribunal for the last 4 years, and where he has overseen dispute-related matters of IAS and IPS officers. With 35 years of expertise, in his IAS career spans over governance, child protection, education, nutrition, administrative reforms, and election management. He has previously served as Chief Election Officer of Karnataka during the election of 2018 and then 2019 Lok Sabha elections. He is known for his ability to translate concepts into action. Dr. Kumar is a skilled leader, innovator, and a policy analyst, passionate about sustainable development and supporting the marginalized communities. We are honored, sir, you are here. I would like to welcome on behalf of GRAAM, I request Dr. Basavaraju to welcome Dr. Sanjeev Kumar. We have another distinguished guest, Mr. Amit Chandra. Yes. Sure. Okay, sir. We have Mr. Amit Chandra, the founder and chairperson of Bain Capital India, and he is also founder of AT Chandra. Privileged to have you, sir. I request Balu sir to honor him and then welcome him. We also have another distinguished person, Dr. MP Shyam, the president of RV Educational Institution, a visionary leader with us. We would like to welcome you for this program. So I request Arjun Ranga sir to welcome him. Our beloved Balu sir, the founder of GRAAM, is also here, and also the Capacity Building Commission HR member HR. We welcome you, sir. I request Basuraj sir to welcome him. We also have our chairman, managing director, as well as managing director of N. Rangarao and Son, Mr. Arjun Ranga. I request our GRAAM team to welcome him. We have the in-charge Vice Chancellor of RV University, Professor Dwarika Prasad Vanial. Thank you so much for being here, sir. We welcome you on behalf of GRAAM. I request all the GRAAM team to welcome him. Our beloved Executive Director, Dr. Basuraj R. Srestha is here. I would like to welcome him on behalf of all of us. At the outset, I would like to welcome all of you, the well-wishers, the vendors, and as well as the funders, and as well as who are supported for the last 10 years, and our trustees who have been with us, who have been supporting constantly. I welcome all of you, all the GRAAM staff, and all the people who have been part of this program, and also those people who have joined us online. Also, I would like to extend my warm welcome to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bhagwan. As we reflect on this long decade of impact, we now take a moment to look at GRAAM's journey that has been filled with growth, transition, and transformation. To present the highlights of this inspiring journey, I invite Dr. Ananya Samajhdar, our Deputy Director of Research at GRAAM.
A very good evening to all present here. A very good evening and welcome, very warm welcome to all our dignitaries. Summing up this 10-year journey is a very difficult task. It's been a rich journey of growth, of transformation and learning, as my colleague Ms. Tania just said. However, I'd just like to take this opportunity, I think it's also an honor for me, to present just about 10 features in the limited time that we have. There's so much to learn and so much to listen to this evening. So I'll just be sharing 10 aspects of this wonderful journey. I've also been fortunate to be part of this for 6 years. So one, of course, I definitely as a researcher would like to talk about some of the landmark studies that have been done with GRAAM, with very, very significant policy implications which have been done by our organization, starting with the early studies such as the evaluation of the National Rural Health Mission, then the evaluation of senior citizen pension schemes, rapid assessment of Anna Bhagya, skill development schemes such as Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gramin Kaushalya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Then we were fortunate enough to do a number of studies for the World Health Organization, some of which have had very significant policy implications. So we did a study on mid-level health worker prescription, study on NCD, non-communicable disease policy analysis. We also did a very interesting study for the UNICEF, the State of the Sector Report on 21st Century Skills in India. And I'm very happy to share that GRAAM also prepared a report on India's social enterprise ecosystem and social stock exchange, and we presented a roadmap for the creation of a social stock exchange in India, and you all know that now the social stock exchange is a reality. So it's been as a researcher, what more can one ask for? doing interesting research. Then, GRAAM also has made a headway into doing studies for the government of India. We have been fortunate enough to do multi-state study for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. We have done a study for the National Commission on Scheduled Tribes. And very, very recently, we have embarked on a study for the Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office, Niti Aayog. This is on an evaluation of the e-Vidhan initiative for digitization of state legislatures. GRAAM has expanded its geography significantly. We started off working in Karnataka, then gradually we expanded our geographical footprint, Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, Maharashtra. And then, there were some studies which we did, which allowed us to make leaps in our geographical footprint. So then we did 8 studies in our Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center assessment for Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, 7 states in a study we did on traditional tribal healers. And right now, the study that we're doing for Niti Aayog on e-Vidhan is covering 17 states. And of course, there are other studies also which have covered other states. So totally we have, GRAAM has achieved a footprint in 19 states of India, starting off as a think tank which was focusing on Karnataka. We are very proud of this particular milestone. We are really honored to have received certain awards. So one was, of course, the AP Chaudappa Memorial Award, which GRAAM received in recognition of its evidence-based advocacy. The eNGO Challenge Award for the innovation on incorporating technology in communitization of public health. Then GRAAM also, we are a think tank, but we're also a think and act tank. We are into demonstrating models. And one of our projects, WeMill, which is our Rural Women Entrepreneurship Project, has been awarded the Champion of Cause in the MSME awards which were given recently by Tally Solutions. So much to talk about. And we also have affiliations which have enhanced our reputation, which have enhanced our credibility. So we are empaneled with the Karnataka Evaluation Authority. And we have signed a statement of intent with the Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office, Niti Aayog. And of course, our work is enriched very much by the academic collaborations that we have. Today we are in RV University, and RV University is one of our esteemed academic partners. It's taken very concrete shape. We're working together on studies. And of course, we have our other academic partners, Cornell University, ISEC, then we have MAHE, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, ISPP, ISDM, so many universities, and of course the Karnataka State Rural Development and Panchayat University in Gadag. So all this, it just helps to enrich our work, enrich our research, enrich our partnerships. GRAAM's contribution to policy is not just generating evidence from research studies or evaluation studies. We have also been involved in drafting policies. So GRAAM has actually drafted Karnataka skill policy. So 2016 to 2023, 2023 to 2030. And we have also been involved in drafting the vision document 2025, skill development and entrepreneurship. And also strategic focus document for KSR-LM. GRAAM's, as you know, our research is very much policy focused. We don't just generate knowledge for its own sake, but to shape policy, which ultimately will improve the lives of the vulnerable communities. So GRAAM's recommendations, evidence-based, evidence-shaped recommendations have had an important impact. For instance, the government of Karnataka issued guidelines for the inclusion of the persons with disability in the NREGA. So based on GRAAM's work, based on GRAAM studies. So we have had multiple such advocacy successes. For instance, GRAAM's recommendations also led to a change in the way funding was done for procurement of medicines in primary health centers. It used to be unit-based. Through GRAAM's evidence-driven recommendations, it became need-based. So GRAAM demonstrates models as a think and act tank. The development models that we kind of showcase, that we implement, that we show evidence for, have community participation at their center. They're very much concerned with communitization. And we have demonstrated such models as one in Jharkhand recently, which demonstrated community monitoring and social accountability in the Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centers. In fact, it was recognized as a national best practice recently, in an event organized by the NHSRC. And similarly, our other models that we have implemented, like Sugamya Shiksha, also have these elements of communitization at their center. Our earlier Arogya Shreni project, of course. So all the models that we have really have community participation at their heart. GRAAM has been shaping corporate social responsibility through its work, through its studies, through its the consultancy work that we are doing. We are shaping CSR through evidence. A number of needs assessment and impact assessment studies have been done. Toyota Kirloskar, Asian Paints, and so many, Aditya Birla Fashion and Retail Limited. And also, we are demonstrating these models, replicable, scalable models, which we hope and which actually some of them are being funded through CSR. So this is definitely part of GRAAM's endeavor to make CSR much more impactful. GRAAM's contribution is also about shaping India's evaluation ecosystem. So we don't just want to do evaluation studies. We want to, kind of improve the entire, the capacity of the system for doing evaluation studies. So to that end, GRAAM actually was involved pretty significantly in the formation of the Karnataka Evaluation Authority when it was set up, in defining the terms of reference for the Karnataka Evaluation Authority. We have been doing a number of training programs, our offerings, which we are hoping are helping to build evaluation capacities, young professionals, mid-career professionals across CSOs, etc. They have been taking these courses. So we have a course called 3PE, Public Policy and Program Evaluation. We have a course called CSR Meal, which is CSR Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability and Learning. We have completed multiple editions of these offerings, and this is our way of helping to shape the capacity of the evaluation ecosystem. GRAAM, of course, as you would have been seeing through the visuals being flashed on the screen, we are very, very proud to be part of the G20 initiative in its previous edition. We're involved in this edition of G20 also. But as you know, India had the presidency of the previous G20. So GRAAM was the national coordinator for the G20 Civil 20 Working Group on Delivering Democracy. So more than 20 events were organized under this initiative. And representatives from some 20 countries took part. And we are very happy that this has contributed to GRAAM's international visibility and international recognition. And the final point, that I would like to share in this short time is that GRAAM is doing its bit to empower the youth, to empower the next generation of civic leaders, because youth are, after all, the future of this country. So GRAAM offers the Youth for Governance Fellowship, which is in partnership with Priya. It is supported by the Hans Seidel Foundation. And this is empowering the youth in Mysuru city to actively participate in civic governance. GRAAM is also contributing in other ways to shape youth capacity. We have had, I think, more than 200 interns who have worked with GRAAM. We're also organizing events such as a policy boot camp to build the capacities of the youth related to governance and public policy. So it's a wonderful journey, a rich journey, difficult to capture in a short time. And of course, many more aspects of our journey will unfurl, I think, today during this event. So thank you all. Thank you for your patient listening. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ananya. It certainly isn't easy to fit all of GRAAM's achievements in 5 to 10 minutes, but thank you for shining a spotlight on all of our successes and laurels in these last years. We now come to an important part of the program, an exciting part that we would like to unveil. We will be presenting our 10-year logo and releasing or dedicating distinct resources that have been created during the course of our work and partnerships in research, development, and public policy advocacy.
ಗ್ರಾಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯು ಸುಗಮಗಾರಿಕೆ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಸಮುದಾಯದ ಬಲವರ್ಧನೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗೆ ಪೂರಕವಾಗಿ ತಂದಿರುವ 10 ಪ್ರಮುಖ ಸಂಪನ್ಮೂಲಗಳನ್ನು ಈ ದಶಮಾನೋತ್ಸವ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಸಂತಸವಾಗುತ್ತದೆ. ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ 10 ವರ್ಷಗಳನ್ನು ಪೂರ್ಣಗೊಂಡ ಈ ನೆನಪಿನಾರ್ಥವಾಗಿ ವಿನ್ಯಾಸಗೊಂಡಿರುವ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಮೊದಲ ದಶಕದ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಯನ್ನು ಸೂಚಿಸುವ ವಿಶೇಷ ಲೋಗೋವನ್ನು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಅಧಿಕೃತವಾಗಿ ಉದ್ಘಾಟನೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಗೂ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯರಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಬಟನ್ ಒತ್ತುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ಲೋಗೋವನ್ನು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಮಾಡುವಂತೆ ಗಣ್ಯರನ್ನ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇನೆ.
Please be seated. In addition to our 10-year logo, we also have the 10-year report and resources that have been created. We would now like to dedicate those, and I request Mr. Amit Chandra to kindly release these resources. As the resources are being released, I'll also list out these specific. Most of these resources come in the form of either training manuals or modules that could be used by development practitioners in their respective thematic areas. So, Mr. Amit Chandra. So these resources include something called Samudyata, which is the Savitribai Phule Capacity Building Manual for Girls. There's also Samujwala, which is the School Development and Monitoring Committee Members Strengthening Manual, the School Cabinet Training Manual, I and My Health, I and My Dream, a Career Guidance Manual, GRAAM Skill Fact Sheet, Skill Development Fact Sheet, the COVID-Reach Experience Report, which is a community-driven approach for pandemic response and resilience, and My Country, My Pride, a video teaser for the same. Thank you. Thank you to all our dignitaries. I now have the honor to invite... okay. Could we have the My Country, My Pride video teaser? I now invite Dr. Baswaraju, our Executive Director of GRAAM, to deliver the introductory remarks for our program and set the tone for the rest of the day.
Thank you so much. But I've been already told by the founder that I have to be very quick, and all of us required to be quick as Mr. Chandra has to catch the flight. But good evening, esteemed guests, well-wishers, partners, and friends of GRAAM, and my team, and of course I have the fortune of having my parents and family also here today with us in this celebration. And it's with immense gratitude and pride that I stand before you today as we celebrate 10 years of GRAAM journey. Looking back, it feels like a dream to think about how far we have come, but it also brings back vivid memories of our humble beginning. In fact, my colleague Ananya has taken us through the journey of GRAAM and its kind of the major accomplishments. I'm not going to repeat the same. But if I have to draw a lesson to myself from GRAAM's journey is three things. One is Your intention should be correct and clear. Conviction to the principles and values we believe in should be strong. And third lesson is give honest and dedicated effort, keeping larger goal of nation development in mind. These are the three initial lessons my founder gave when I asked him at the outset, like, what is the purpose of GRAAM? I think we are trying. I'm not saying that we have been completely doing it, but we are trying our best at GRAAM to keep all these three principles and do it whatever, adopt it in whatever we do actually. And of course, primarily GRAAM is a research organization. It's in our name, Grassroots Research and Advocacy Movement. But I never thought GRAAM's inception and continuation will itself be a research. Difficult hypothesis, limitation of various things, and as well as unlimited expectations. Why I say difficult hypothesis is because the first hypothesis we kept for GRAAM, whether team with multidisciplinary background can come and work together. Second hypothesis we kept is, can we really have independent, self-reliant think tank? Third, can we build it from the bottom-up approach and from a tier 2 city like Mysore, where most of the think tanks and research organizations make it mandatory that they start from Delhi, or at least they start from the state headquarters. Here is the founder who set the tone to us, like we should start from bottom-up approach. Let us experiment this. And of course, the limitation, it started with resource limitation. Of course, no continued funding, no seed capital, and also the team challenges. So when you are not paying quite a heavy salary, it's difficult to attract talent to the research organizations. And above all, keeping all our principles intact, no compromise in any of the principles we follow. So these are all the limitations we started operating with. And of course, unlimited expectations. Those who have worked with Dr. Balu closely know these expectations will be unlimited. He said, not just research, it's a community engaged and participatory research we should do. It is not just research, we need to engage with policies. We need to create the briefs and fact sheets that policymakers easily refer to and digest, and our research evidences are translated into actions then. He said it is not just research, but we need to create a collaborative learning community. It is not just GRAAM doing it, how you engage more and more youth, more and more collaborative agency, more and more NGOs in the operations we do. And it is not just research, how we engage grassroots organizations. I tell you, in all the research activities across 18 states we have done, which Ananya presented, none of it we have done through typical data collection agencies. It's all through hard effort. We have locally hired NGOs. We built their research capabilities, data collection capabilities, and ensured this. It's a very difficult propositions we have kept, but we have committed to our conviction that we build a collaborative learning community. Because our ambition is, we may do research and some may translate into policy actions, but many a times, I don't know, nobody probably even read that report, but at least the local NGOs are involved. They'll be able to take it up at least at the district level. All the programmatic, the implementation level issues, they'll be able to take it up with the district administration and find solutions for it. Or at least their program creation, the development program creations will be really emulating the grassroots voice, the community voice, once they start seeing this community as from the researcher's perspective. But at the end of the day, if we look back, we are indeed happy with whatever we have done, but sincerely not satisfied. So if you ask any of the GRAAM team, we call it popularly GRAAMers actually. So many may complain about the salaries, perks and other privileges, probably whatever they have obtained at GRAAM, but none can complain about the learning atmosphere they have got, the exposures they have received, the multiple dynamic situations they are put into to kind of work with the grassroots community, both as a researchers as well as implementers. And what actually gives us more joy is organizations like us in the 10 years journey, maximum can aspire to be kind of making some policy suggestions, go and offer some solutions. But we are fortunate to be having been invited by various governments at the Karnataka level as well as other country level, to craft policies, to develop vision documents, to work with the government to develop action plan. We take pride in saying that, like whatever Ananya shared with you today, like it could be national level NCD policy to the skill development policy in Karnataka and various other things. And we are continuously partnering with academic institutions in the pursuit of, again, building collaborative learning communities, encouraging more and more students to take part in this development journey. And some of the things actually, so we have in front of us, okay, especially when we had an opportunity to lead the G20's Delivering Democracy group actually, it came automatically in one of our discourse that if we do not take care of democracy, democracy will not take care of us. Similarly, of course, development without democracy is something like a society without morality. Why I'm saying this? See, in the GRAAM's journey, some of the things what we have learned, observed at the grassroots is the challenge in people participation. Because in people's polity, it is said unless people's representation is there, people participation is there, development will not thrive and the democracy will not sustain. So these are the major challenges we have kind of seeing in the next decade. If you ask us what is the goal of GRAAM, what is the aspiration of GRAAM, we really want to experiment, do a lot of research related to the community participation. The grassroots community action lab is a dream that we are actually aspiring, wherein to come out with frameworks, develop the models to ensure that people participate. For example, what we did in Jharkhand, GRAAM went up to Jharkhand, USAID recognized GRAAM's model of Arogya Shreni. They gave a kind of opportunity to experiment there in the NISTA platform. And we built the local JAS capacity, Jan Arogya Samiti capacity, and Jan Arogya Samiti started participating in the solving the local problems actually. So that kind of the more and more people-led model we need to come out with. And what we have also understood, learned is people at the grassroots, especially the the street bureaucrats, have enormous knowledge in them, but there is seldom opportunity for them to kind of share their knowledges, do an action research and come out and present out there. So we really want to work on building a barefoot research community across the country and community monitoring and social accountability activities. And of course, taking forward a rural social business models, which doubles the farmer's income as well as build a rural economy with the concept of rural wealth creation. So with this, I only have to say it's our immense gratitude and I acknowledge support of all our partners. Some of the partners are here today, like Strides Pharma, URT, and other, the partner community, Navedisha, another organization. So we take everyone's, we submit our gratitude to everyone. And thank you so much. And we look forward to having this continued collaborative learning community with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Baswaraju, for highlighting what makes GRAAM GRAAM, what makes us stand out, and the extra mile or length that we go to ensure that people's voices and their stakes are written into all of the work that we do here. With that, I would also take this opportunity to invite Mr. Amit Chandra to share a few words with us.
Namaskar, everyone, dignitaries on the dais, and friends in the audience. First of all, my deep gratitude to GRAAM to invite me here today on this august occasion. It's truly a privilege to be here on your 10th anniversary. It's an incredible milestone in any organization's journey, and to share it with you is truly special. When a child is growing up, we all have aspirations, but we often, as parents, don't see the potential. Even family members can't see really what the potential is. And so sometimes, as someone who is a step removed, a mile away, it's easier to see that. And so as I was sitting through and hearing comments today, I was hearing Ananya, I was reading things on the walls, I was looking at the website on my way in. It struck me that there are a number of things that have happened here over a long journey and that are happening, which truly make this organization special in what has been a very short journey. And
it prepares it really well to serve society and the objectives and the vision that it has for the future. Imagine 5 or 10 years from now that several hundred NGOs will raise several thousand crores a year from India's Aam Aadmi retail donors at very efficient costs of, 5 or 10%. It's a dream that every NGO leader has, but cannot fulfill. It's unrestricted money, which is highly valuable. They don't have to listen to the kit-pit of CSR leaders and foundation heads. And so it's a really, really important dream. It's a dream that has long been nurtured by NGO leaders, but to fulfill that dream, you really need a electronic platform. And the finance minister of India, 5 or 6 years ago, thought that the time has come to make that electronic platform happen. And fortunately, GRAAM played actually a role in making that platform move forward. It was research done here that Ananya talked about that has gone through an arduous journey, and today 10 NGOs have been listed on the social stock exchange. Now, those 10 NGOs have raised 11 crores, and so that amount seems, trivial, but I go back to the point that sometimes as parents we all have aspirations, but we don't see the potential. And I can tell you, as someone who ran a bank many, many years ago when I had hair, that I saw the journey of the National Stock Exchange as well. And India used to have very high cost of fundraising. And today we are the most efficient stock market in the world with several thousand companies listed and, a very, very vibrant capital market. And it's often the first few years which are the most difficult periods when you have to establish the proof of concept. And it's organizations who go through that pain where they have to do painstaking research, they have to do a lot of convening and tons of advocacy, everything that GRAAM stands for, that make that trailblaze and make it possible for people to follow. And often we forget all of that when things start working miraculously 5 or 10 years later. So organizations like this truly have a very unique part in our social fabric. There are not many such organizations. To set them up 10 years ago was truly visionary, and we'll have much more need for them in different segments of our society in the years ahead. So I won't take much of your time, but I will express my deep gratitude for the work that happens here. And I hope that this work percolates down to many, many more segments of our society, because we need this kind of insight in many of our problems. We need this kind of capacity building in many of our areas. We need this kind of convening, and we need these kind of linkages to be built with state governments and the central government so that ultimately problems can be solved at scale. Thank you, and my best wishes for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amit Chandra. We now come to
ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ ಅವರ ಸಮುದಾಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ವೀಕ್ಷಿಸಲು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾದಂಥ ಹಲವಾರು ಘಟನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಬರವಣಿಗೆಯ ಸಂಗ್ರಹವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಇತರ 2 ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಈಗ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಗಣ್ಯರು ಬಿಡುಗಡೆಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕಂತೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
In addition to development stories in Kannada, we have Janmanas Ki Awaaz, voices from the grassroots in Hindi, and Main Ek Nagrik, I a Citizen, again in Hindi.
ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಅನಾವರಣಗೊಳಿಸಿದ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳು ಹೊರಗಿನ ಮಾರಾಟದ ಒಂದು ಮಳಿಗೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಲಭ್ಯವಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಖರೀದಿಸಬಹುದು ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ಮಾತನಾಡಲಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಪ್ರತಿಮಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ರವರು, ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು, ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ ತರಬೇತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸಂಶೋಧನಾ ಕೇಂದ್ರ, ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಯೂತ್ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನು ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀಧರ ಅಮಾತ್ಯನ ತಾಯಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಎದೆ ಹಾಲು ಉಣಿಸುವಾಗ ಹೇಳಿದಂಥ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನನ್ನ ಬುಕ್ ರಿವ್ಯೂನ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕೆರೆಯಂ ಕಟ್ಟಿಸು, ಬಾವಿಯನ್ನು ಸವೆಸು, ದೇವಾಲಯಗಳನ್ನು ನಿರ್ಮಿಸು, ಸೆರೆಸಿಕ್ಕ ಅನಾಥರನ್ನ ಬಿಡಿಸು, ನಂಬಿದ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ನೆರವು ನೀಡು, ಶಿಷ್ಟರನ್ನ ರಕ್ಷಿಸು. ಈ ಲೋಕೋತ್ತರ ಗುಣಗಳನ್ನ ಮಾನವೀಯವಾಗಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಬಾಳುತ್ತಿರುವ ನಮ್ಮ RB ಸರ್ ಬರೆದಿರುವಂತಹ ಬಾಳ ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಲು ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ ನನ್ನ ಭಾಗ್ಯ. ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಲ್ಲಿನ ನಾಯಕತ್ವ ಗುಣಗಳನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮ ಲೇಖನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಎತ್ತಿ ಹಿಡಿಯುವ ಮೂಲಕ ಅವರ ಮೇಲಿನ ಗೌರವವನ್ನ ದುಪ್ಪಟ್ಟುಗೊಳಿಸಿರುವಂತಹ ಸಂಗತಿ ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕವನ್ನ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಸಿಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಅನುಭವಗಳು. RB ಸರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಹೊಸಳ್ಳಿಗೆ ಪ್ರಯಾಣ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೆಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದಂಥ ಕಥೆಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕಥೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕೆಂಪಯ್ಯ ಕಲಿಸಿದ ನಾಯಕತ್ವ ಪಾಠ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಲೇಖನ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಲೇಖನದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಕೆಂಪಯ್ಯನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ RB ಸರ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಅದನ್ನ ಕೇಳುವಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಕೂಡ ಕೆಂಪನಹಾಡಿ ಕೆಂಪಯ್ಯ ಅವ್ರ ನಾಯಕತ್ವದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗೆಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಯಾಣಿಸುವಾಗಲೆಲ್ಲಾನು ಕೂಡ ಹೊಸಳ್ಳಿಗೆ ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಕೆಂಪನಹಾಡಿ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಯಾಣಿಸುವಾಗಲೆಲ್ಲ ಊರಿನ ಹೊರಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಡಿಕೆ ಜಗಿಯುತ್ತಾ ಉದ್ದ ಬಿಳಿ ಕೂದಲನ್ನ ಬಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋಂಥ ಕೆಂಪಯ್ಯ ಊರನ್ನ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ಅನುಭವ ನಮಗೆ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಹೋಗುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನು ಜೇನು ಕುರುಬರ ಮಾನವೀಯ ಅರ್ಥಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಲೇಖನ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಜೇನು ಕುಯ್ಯುವಂಥ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯವನ್ನ RB ಸರ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಮಾಸ್ತಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕಾಳರ ಒಂದು ತಂಡತ್ವ ಭಾವನೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯಕ್ತ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕೃತಿಯ ಬಗೆಗಿನ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಕಾಳಜಿಯನ್ನ ನವಿರಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೃದಯಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಟ್ಟುವಂತೆ ಚಿತ್ರಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದನ್ನ ಇಂದಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ಹೊಸಳ್ಳಿಯ ವಿವೇಕ ಗಿರಿಜನ ಶೈಕ್ಷಣಿಕ ಕೇಂದ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉಪಹಾರ ಮಂದಿರ ಇದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೆಲಸದವರು ಕೂಡ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದವ್ರು ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಜನ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಅನುಭವ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಂಥದ್ದು. ಇತ್ತೀಚೆಗೆ ನಾನು ಕ್ಯಾಂಟೀನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಂಗಿನಕಾಯಿ ತುರಿತಾ ಇದ್ರು. ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಂಗಿನಕಾಯಿ ತುರಿವಾಗ ಏನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ ನಾವು, ಕರ್ಟದ್ವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ತುರಿತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರೇನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕರ್ಟದ್ವರೆಗೂ ಕೂಡ ತುರಿಯಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಉಳಿಸಿದ್ರು. ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾಣಿಗಳಿಗಾದ್ರೂ ಒಂದು ಆಹಾರ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ವಾ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣವಾಗಿ ತುರಿಯಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾತನ್ನ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು. ಇದು RB ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರ ಬುಕ್ಕಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದಂಥ ಆ ಜೇನು ಕುಯ್ಯುವಂಥ ಸಂಗತಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರಿಲೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೂ ನಂಗೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ನಿನ್ನಾತ್ಮ ದೇವಾತ್ಮ ಕಾರಣ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಲೇಖನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಾಳೆಹಣ್ಣು ಮಾರುವಂಥ ಹೆಂಗಸೊಬ್ಳು ಚೌಕಾಸಿ ಮಾಡುವಂಥ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯೊಂದಿಗೆ ಜಗಳ ಮಾಡಿ ವ್ಯಾಪಾರ ಮಾಡದೆ ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ಹೋಗಿ ತಗೋ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದೇ ಹೆಂಗಸು 5 ವರ್ಷದ ಹೆಣ್ಮಗು ಅಳ್ತಾ ನಿಂತಿದಾಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಬಾಳೆಹಣ್ಣನ್ನ ಕೊಟ್ಟು ಬರ್ತಾಳೆ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡಲ್ಲೂ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣ ಪರಮಹಂಸರ ಶಿವಜ್ಞಾನ ಜೀವಸೇವಾ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಮಾತು, ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರ ದರಿದ್ರ ನಾರಾಯಣೋ ಭವ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಉಪದೇಶವನ್ನ ಅಕ್ಷರಶಃ ಅವಳು ಪಾಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಕೆಗೆ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ರಾಮಕೃಷ್ಣರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿ ಏನೂ ತಿಳಿದೇ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸಿರುವಂತ ರೀತಿ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿದೆ. ಹಾಗೆ RB ಸರ್ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಲೇಖನದಲ್ಲಿ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಿಂದ ಕಲಿತಂತಹ ನಾಯಕತ್ವ ಗುಣಗಳನ್ನ ಎತ್ತಿ ಹಿಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದವರು RB ಸರನ್ನ ಕಾಣುವಂತಹ ದೃಷ್ಟಿಯ ನೇರ ಅನುಭವನೇ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಇವರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇವಲ ನಾಯಕರನ್ನ ಕಂಡು ಹಿಡ್ದಿಲ್ಲ, ಅಥವಾ RB ಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಬರೀ ನಾಯಕರು ಅಂತ ನೋಡಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ದೇವರಂತೆ ಕಾಣ್ತಾರೆ. 2022ರಲ್ಲಿ RB ಸರ್ ಜೊತೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸಹಳ್ಳಿಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಇವ್ರು ಬರುವಂಥ ವಿಷಯನ ತಿಳಿದು ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಜಾವದಲ್ಲೇ ಒಂದು 6 ಗಂಟೆ 6:30 ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರ ಕರಿಯ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಕಾಳ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಅವ್ರ ಮಗನೊಂದಿಗೆ RB ಸರ್ ಜೊತೆ ಮಾತನಾಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ತಮ್ಮ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಕಣ್ಣೀರಿಡುವಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ, ದೇವ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನನ್ನನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋದ್ರಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಅನ್ನೋಂಥ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ಸುರಿಸಿದಂಥ ರೀತಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸುತ್ತ ನೆರೆದಿದ್ದಂಥವ್ರ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ನೀರು ಸುರಿಸುವಂಥ ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ಯಾವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ನಾವು ನೋಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಭವಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಹಾಗೆ ಪರಿಸರ ದಿನಾಚರಣೆ ಸಂದರ್ಭ RB ಸರ್ ಒಂದು ಟಾಸ್ಕನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಮರನ ಕಡಿತೀರೋ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ದುಪ್ಪಟ್ಟು ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ನೆಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಹೀಗೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಸಿ ನೆಡೋ ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ತೊಡಗಿದ್ರೆ, ಕರಿಯ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಜನಾಂಗದ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ RB ಸರ್ಗೆ ಕಾಡಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಒಂದು ಕೋಲ್ ಜೇನನ್ನ ಹಿಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೋಲ್ ಜೇನನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೈ ಕೊಟ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು, ತಗೋ ಇದು ನಿನ್ನ ಮಗಂಗೆ ಕೊಡು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಇದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಇದು ಬರೀ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ನೀಡಿದಂಥ ರೀತಿ RB ಸರ್ ಬುಡಕಟ್ಟು ಸಮುದಾಯದವರಿಗೆ ಬಾಳಿ ಬದುಕಿದ ರೀತಿಯಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ನಿದರ್ಶನನೇ ಆಗಿತ್ತು ಅವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣ ಮಂದಿರದಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರೊಬ್ರು ಕೂಡ ಹಸಿದು ಹೋಗಬಾರ್ದಾಗಿ ಹೊರನಾಡು ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣೇಶ್ವರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೊರೆ ಇಟ್ಟಂಥ ಸ್ಥಳದಿಂದ ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಂಥ ಸ್ಥಳ ಇವತ್ತು ಅನ್ನಪೂರ್ಣಿ ದೇವಿಯೇ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸಿದಾಳೇನೋ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥ ದೈವಿಕ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಆ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ. ಇದ್ಯಾವುದು ಕೂಡ ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಜೀವಿಸಿದಂಥವ್ರು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದಂಥವ್ರಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರನೇ ಅದರ ನಿಜವಾದ ರೂಪ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಂಥದ್ದು. ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಅನುವಾದ ಸಮಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನ ಕಂಡುಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಿಕ್ತು. ಕೇವಲ ಶಾಲೆನಲ್ಲಿ 9 ರಿಂದ 4 ಗಂಟೆ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಕೆಲಸನೇ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಧೋರಣೆಯಿಂದ SVM ಸಂಸ್ಥೆನಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮುದಾಯದ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನೂ ಕೂಡ ಪಾತ್ರಧಾರಿಯಾಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ನಿರ್ಧರಿಸಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಅದರಿಂದ ಮುಂಚೆ SVMನಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದು ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೇಕ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಬೇರೆ ಕಡೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಮತ್ತೆ SVM ಬರೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇದು ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರಣ ಆಯಿತು. ಈ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನ್ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಆದಂಥ ಅನುಭವಗಳು ಅಂತಲೇ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಪ್ರತಿ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೂ, ಪ್ರತಿ ಘಟನೆಯನ್ನು ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡುವಾಗಲೂ ಆ ಘಟನೆನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಜೀವಿಸಬಾರ್ದಾಗಿತ್ತಾ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಭಾವನೆ ನನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬ ಸರಿ ಬಂದು ಹೋಗಿತ್ತು. ಆದರೆ ಅದು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾಗಿಲ್ಲದಿದ್ದಾಗಿ ಆ ಘಟನೆಗಳು ನಡೆದಂಥ ಸ್ಥಳಕ್ಕಾದರೂ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಒಂದ್ಸರಿ ದೇವನಹಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತೆಗೆಸಿದಂಥ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ವಾಯ್ಸಸ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ರೂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಸರ್ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆ ಬೋರ್ವೆಲ್ ತೆಗೆದಂಥ ಜಾಗ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ ಬರೆದಂಥ ಲೇಖನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಂಥ ಘಟನೆಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನೆನಪಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆದಂಥ ಅನುಭವಗಳನ್ನ ಪದಗಳಲ್ಲಂತೂ ವರ್ಣಿಸಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮನ ಕಗ್ಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಮಾತನ್ನ ಮುಗಿಸೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ನವನವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು, ನವನವ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳು, ದಿವಸಾಬ್ದ ಯುಗ ಚಕ್ರ ತಿರುಗಿದಂತೆ ಪ್ರವಹಿಪ್ಪುವುದರಂತೆ ಪೌರುಷಹಿತ ಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆ, ಅವಿರತದ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. ಇದರ ಅರ್ಥ ಹೀಗಿದೆ: ದಿನಗಳು, ವರ್ಷಗಳು, ಯುಗಗಳು ಉರುಳಿದಂತೆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಸ ಹೊಸ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳು ಉದ್ಭವಿಸುತ್ತವೆ. ಅವನು ಹೊಸ ಹೊಸ ಪ್ರಯೋಗಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡುತ್ತಲೇ ಇರ್ತಾನೆ, ಹೊಸ ಹೊಸ ಪರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳನ್ನು ಎದುರಿಸುತ್ತಾನೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಆತ್ಮಹಿತವನ್ನು ವೃದ್ಧಿಗೊಳಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲು ಮನುಷ್ಯನೊಳಗಿರುವ ಆ ಪರತತ್ವದ ಚೈತನ್ಯ ನಿರಂತರ ಕೃಷಿ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತದೆ. ಹೀಗೆ ಸದಾ ಜೀವಿಸುತ್ತಿರುವ RB ಸರ್ ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಚೈತನ್ಯದಾಯಕವಾಗಿರಲಿ ಎಂದು ಹಾರೈಸುತ್ತಾ ಅವಕಾಶ ನೀಡಿದಂತಹ ಸರ್ವರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತೀನಿ.
Thank you, Ms. Pratima. I now request Dr. Professor Dwarika Prasad Unyal, Pro Vice Chancellor, RV University, to share his thoughts on the book Mahek Nagrik.
And I was given the homework by Dr. Basavaraju to read the Hindi version. I'm a native Hindi speaker, so I write in Hindi, speak in Hindi. So किताब का नाम है मैं एक नागरिक, जिसका ट्रांसलेशन हिंदी में किया गया है और ये काफ़ी लार्ज पॉपुलेशन तक ये किताब पहुँचेगी, ऐसा मेरा मानना है. ये किताब सरल भी है और थोड़ी मुश्किल भी. सरल इसलिए है कि बालू सर ने इसमें ज़मीन से जुड़ी जो कहानियाँ
इतने सालों में ग्राम और स्वामी विवेकानंद यूथ मूवमेंट के साथ लेके आपने जोड़ी हैं, उनको जानना, समझना और उनके साथ रिलेट कर पाना आसान है, लेकिन उनके पीछे इन्होंने जो थॉट प्रोसेस, आइडियोलॉजी और एक पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रक्चर दिया है हमारी गवर्नेंस के लिए, ताकि हम एज ए सिटीज़न, एज नागरिक, हमारा क्या काम है, हमारा क्या कर्तव्य है और हमारा फोकस क्या रहना चाहिए, उस पे काफ़ी काम किया है। तो ये एक ज़रूरी दस्तावेज़ है जिसे हम सबको पढ़ना चाहिए। सिर्फ इस देश में जन्म लेना, इसमें वोट देना, अपना काम करना से ही हम नागरिक नहीं बन जाते। हमें बहुत कुछ और भी सीखना और समझना है, जिससे हमें ये पता चले कि हम इस देश को कितना समझते हैं, इस देश की वास्तविकताओं के साथ हमारा कितना जुड़ाव है। और हम यहाँ पे जितने सब लोग बैठे हुए हैं, काफ़ी सारे लोग एक एलीट क्लास से आते हैं, हम वेल एजुकेटेड हैं, हम यूनिवर्सिटीज़ में गए हुए हैं, हमारे कुछ जॉब्स हैं, लेकिन एक 70% जो तबका है इस देश का, जो गांवों में रहता है, और देश, गांधी जी ने भी कहा था कि उसकी जो आत्मा है वो गांव में रहती है। अगर उसको समझना है, दूर दराज इलाकों में जाना है और ज़मीन से जुड़ना है, तो इस दस्तावेज़ को, इस किताब को आप लोगों को ज़रूर पढ़ना चाहिए। इसके कुछ डायमेंशंस हैं, क्योंकि मेरे पास वक्त बहुत कम है। 400 पेज की किताब मुझे 4 मिनट में समराइज़ करने के लिए बासव सर ने होमवर्क दिया है। द प्रोफेसर हैज़ बिकम द स्टूडेंट टुडे। सो मैं थोड़ा सा इसको इलाबोरेट करूँगा। इसमें 3 या 4 ब्रॉड थीम्स हैं, जिसमें एक नागरिक सहभागिता है, जिसमें हमारी सिटीज़न मूवमेंट के बारे में है, हम कैसे उसके साथ काम कर सकते हैं, कैसे हमें जिन लोगों के साथ, इसमें कई लोग एनजीओज़ के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, कुछ इसमें अच्छे लेसन्स हैं एनजीओज़ के साथ में कि हमें कैसे उदारता और सिंपैथी, एम्पैथी के बीच जो एक डिफरेंस होता है कि हम आप लोगों के लिए कुछ करना चाहते हैं, आप लोगों के लिए कुछ कर रहे हैं, वो मानसिकता छोड़कर उनके साथ जुड़कर उनके साथ काम करने की जो मानसिकता है वो आती है, तो कैसे ज़रूरी है। और यही चीज़ ट्राइबल्स के साथ में, जनजातियों के साथ में डॉक्टर बालू की कहानियाँ हैं, मैं उसके बारे में थोड़ा सा कुछ और बताऊंगा, जिससे पता चलता है कि वो कहानियाँ कितनी हमको एक लेसन्स देती हैं, लाइफ लेसन्स देती हैं। जनकुबिया कुरुबा जनजाति की कहानी है, जड़िया की कहानी है, उनके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा बताता हूँ। अच्छा शासन कैसे लोकल लेवल पे हो सकता है, भ्रष्टाचार, करप्शन हम रोज़ देखते हैं हमारे जीवन में। आई थिंक बारिश ज़्यादा है, सड़कें कम है बेंगलोर में, वो करप्शन है या कुछ और है, वो हर लेवल पे है। उसकी कुछ कहानियाँ इस किताब में आपके दिल को छू जाएंगी, जिसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा सा बताऊंगा। विकास, प्रगति, डेवलपमेंट और ग्रोथ, वो हम किस लेंस से देखते हैं वो जानना ज़रूरी है, और क्या लेंस ज़रूरी है जिनके लिए हम ये डेवलपमेंट चाहते हैं। ये दोनों चीज़ें समझना डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है। तो इसमें 2 या 3 कहानियाँ मेरे दिल को छू गई हैं, जिनके बारे में मैं आपको इस किताब से बहुत संक्षिप्त में बताना चाहता हूँ। सबसे पहले एक कहानी है, ये जगह है झारखंड में जहाँ पे एक महिला, आदिवासी महिला, चावल में, पानी में चावल पका रही है और फिर पानी को भी पका रही है ताकि वो साग बन जाए उस चावल के साथ खाने का। अब ये जो स्थिति है उस जगह की, उस देश की, उन लोगों की, जहाँ पे आप पानी के साथ चावल को खा रहे हैं क्योंकि कुछ और है नहीं, वो लेवल पे लेकिन हमारा दिल टूटेगा, हम उनको सोचेंगे वो लोग कितने गरीब हैं। लेकिन डॉक्टर बालू यहाँ कहते हैं कि वो लोग खुश थे, उन्होंने अपनी परिस्थिति के साथ में समझौता किया हुआ था और वो कुछ और सोचते थे ताकि उनकी ज़िंदगी की जद्दोजहद भी कैसे हो रही है। एक कहानी है, विकास को कौन परिभाषित करता है? आप करते हैं। आप कैसे डेवलपमेंट को देखते हैं? हमारे लिए डेवलपमेंट क्या है? एक अच्छी सड़क है, एक अच्छा घर है, एक अच्छी एजुकेशन है, वर्सेस जो लोग हैं उनके लिए डेवलपमेंट क्या होता है। और एक कहानी बोम्मी और मादी की है, जिनके लिए डॉक्टर बालू और उनके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन ने हैंडपंप तो बना दिया ताकि वो दूर तक पानी भरने ना जा सकें, क्योंकि वो 7 किलोमीटर रोज जाती थी वो महिलाएं। इनकी तरफ से वो डेवलपमेंट हो गया, इनकी कितना अच्छा काम किया है। और डॉक्टर बालू को बहुत गालियां पड़ी हैं। उन्होंने कहा कि तुमने हमारा साथ छीन लिया। हम संगी साथी ने साथ में जाती थी, हमारे पास वही 1 घंटा होता था जब हम अपने सोसाइटी से, अपने बच्चों से, अपने हस्बैंड की लाइफ से और अपने सास ससुर से, दुनिया से दूर हम आपस में बतियाती थी। वो वक्त तुमने छीन लिया, तुम पानी पास ले आए और हमारे दिलों को दूर कर दिया। तो ये एक जरूरी बात है जो यहाँ पे बात हो रही है। एक निंगामणि की कहानी है। एक बूढ़ी विधवा औरत है जो इनसे 10 रुपए में आरटीआई की किताब और दूसरी किताब इनसे लेती है और कहती है कि मैं इसको घर ले जाऊंगी। डॉक्टर बालू सोच रहे हैं कि अरे क्या करेगी। 1 साल बाद वो मिलती है और कहती है कि किताब मैंने अपने पोते को दी, उसने मुझे पढ़कर सुनाई और बताया कि मेरे क्या अधिकार हैं। मैं पढ़ नहीं सकती तो क्या मुझे अधिकार जानने का अधिकार नहीं है। और अब उसको पता है कि उसको विधवा पेंशन कैसे मिलेगी। एक बहुत सुंदर एक और कहानी है इसमें, भ्रष्टाचार की हकीकत। एक महिला ने पूछा कि मेरा घर दूसरे लोगों ने कब्जा लिया है, मैं क्या करूं। इन्होंने बहुत आसान सा जवाब दिया कि पुलिस के पास जाइए। अब हमारा देश बहुत अजीब सा है, दूसरे देशों में कुछ तकलीफ होती है तो लोग पुलिस के पास जाते हैं, हमारे देशों में पुलिस को देख के हम दूर भागते हैं। तो कहती है पुलिस के पास गई थी, उसने कुछ और मेरे को बताया और उसके पास जाने का कोई फायदा नहीं है। तो एक सोल्यूशन अगर हम अपने तरीके से अपनी एजुकेटेड माइंडसेट में देखते हैं कैसे उस चीज को उन्होंने किया है और उसके बाद उस चीज को बात किया। एक और कहानी है बहुत सुंदर जो जड़िया की कहानी है और वो दिल तोड़ने वाली कहानी है। जड़िया एक आदिवासी है, उसकी एक बकरी थी। उसने इनके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का एक पर्टिकुलर जगह थी जहाँ पे फूल पत्ते होते थे, खेती होती थी, वहाँ के पत्ते खा लिए। तो बकरी के पत्ते खाने पे जो झगड़ा हुआ, उससे जो बातें निकली, उसने जड़िया के दिल को चीर दिया। और इसमें एक कहानी है, जब आप पढ़ेंगे तो पता चलेगा कि उसने साड़ी लाके इनके मुंह पे मार दी, ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के मुंह पे मार दी कि लो मेरी बीवी की साड़ी तुमने दी थी, ले जाओ, मैं तुमसे भीख नहीं मांग रहा था, तुमने मुझे दिया था, वो मैं दोस्त समझकर मैंने लिया था। और ये कितनी समझ, एक किंकर्तव्य विमूढ़ वाली स्थिति है जहाँ पे हम डेवलपमेंट सेक्टर के जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं, सडनली हम लोगों को भी ये सोचना पड़ता है कि हम किसी की अस्मिता को, उसके रिस्पेक्ट को कहीं हम हर्ट तो नहीं कर रहे हैं। हमारी ओवर जेलस तरीके से अगर हम उनको उनकी लाइफ को ठीक करने की बात कर रहे हैं। क्योंकि मैं मूलतः एक कवि हूँ और बाद में एक वाइस चांसलर पेज फॉर दी पोएट। तो इनकी जो पूरी किताब को मैं 5-10 मिनट में नहीं समराइज कर सकता, तो मैंने सिर्फ कुछ पंक्तियां लिखी हैं और वो बहुत इजी तरीके से आपको समझ में आ जाएगा। कविता का नाम है मैं एक नागरिक, और वो इस तरह से है कि चावल का पानी, पानी का साग, किसका किसका देखो भाग अभाग। चावल का पानी, पानी का साग, किसका किसका देखो भाग अभाग। जड़िया की बकरी, बकरी का पेड़, पत्ते पे झगड़ा, गरीब की साड़ी। एनजीओ हैंडपंप ने छीना, साथिनों का हंसी ठट्ठा। किसका विकास, किसका प्रयास, कौन उदार, किसका उधार। संविधान कौन, हम सब मौन, जिसकी लाठी उसकी भैंस, कोर्ट कचहरी करोड़ों केस। नया बाजार, he essentially talks also about the development and the new market economy, but where exactly that economy is taken. And I'm a marketing professor, I'm guilty here. नया बाजार, सब दुकानदार, 100 में देखो एक ईमानदार। यहां पे भ्रष्टाचार की बात हो रही है। नया बाजार, सब दुकानदार, 100 में देखो एक ईमानदार। गण है गणतंत्र भी, राजा नहीं, क्यों तंत्र वही। गण है गणतंत्र भी राजा नहीं, क्यों तंत्र वही, मेधी का घर, पुलिस का डर, डाकिए का कट, काहे की रपट, कैंपिया लीडर अकेला निरा, निंगा मणि का हक इत्थे रख, कहानी ये सामयिक, हम एक नागरिक, कहानी हम ये सामयिक, हम एक नागरिक, क्योंकि इसमें ये कहते हैं डॉक्टर बालासुब्रमण्यम कि ये देश हमारा है, इसे हमें बनाना है, ये किसी और के ऊपर हम नहीं छोड़ सकते, और ये हमें सोचना है कि ये देश क्या है, ये देश है, विशेष है, डाली कटी पत्ते बिखरे फिर भी जड़ें बहुत शेष है, देश है, चेहरे हैं भेष भी, चौपालों में, खेत में, शहर भी, परदेश भी, परंपराओं से जुड़े मानो ये केश है, देश है, कौन हूं मौन हूं, क्या बचूं क्या रहूं, मिट्टियों की धूल बन मुट्ठियों से बहूं, कुल्हड़ों में जमी दही ये विशेष है, देश है, जमी किसकी, हवा किसकी, वतन किसका, जतन जिसका, भक्ति जिसकी, देश उसका, हृदय में धड़कती धड़कने मात्र लेश हैं, देश है, विशेष है, डाली कट्टी पते बिखरे, धड़कने मात्र शेष हैं, देश है. Ladies and gentlemen, such an honor and a pleasure to present such an eminent personality and his work. Thank you.
Always the poet. Thank you, Dr. Dwarikas, particularly for beautifully capturing the lessons from the book, especially those that turn the tables on conventional understandings of development. So thank you. I'm honored to invite Dr. Sanjeev Kumar to the stage to share his remarks for the evening.
ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೂತಿರುವ ಮಹನೀಯರುಗಳೇ, it's really indeed a matter of great satisfaction coming here to this decennial function of this very, very promising and potential organization GRAAM, which has shown remarkable achievement in its first decade itself, which generally is not something easy to achieve, that also when someone is working at the grassroots and in a field which is much more difficult, that is policy research and advocacy. But as we heard the organization's 10-year report, it really shows that they have done what they had aspired, although our country and society needs probably much more and many such more organizations. At this moment, I really recapitulate our association. Probably it goes much beyond this 10 years formal period of this organization, because in its infancy, before this 10-year, the organization was already there in its incipient form with the parent organization, that is Vivekanand Youth Movement. And it had started its work, and it really was doing then also quite well. And because I knew both Dr. Balasubramaniam as well as Dr. Basuraj for much before, because we had worked together on many issues probably much earlier. So at that point of time, when probably it was the year 2012 or 11, No, you started 11, but this work was in 2012, probably regarding establishment of an evaluation authority in Karnataka. This policy on evaluation probably was one of the first of its kind in India, and the authority something was certainly the first in India, because even at national level it could not be established, and it is not there yet. International level also, in UN system, if one watches, probably pre-UN time, International Labour Organization was able to establish one such organization which does either evaluation or capacity building on evaluations in various countries, and such institution was established at the state level with a policy which has sustained for more than a decade, and it is really something which is a beacon for others, whether state, national, or even other countries to follow. Because what foundations were laid, lots of evaluations are happening, many are quality evaluations, although as we know, the governance in India somehow, because of our whatever we call it, unitary or federal polity, within that the distinction between the legislature and the executive is almost obfuscated, and that restricts what? Any type of monitoring, because finally the legislature had to monitor things. If we go back to the policy which was really developed, I don't know whether Graaam recalls the finer details of the policy. The evaluation authority and its products had to go to the legislature, and they were the people who had to enforce it so that corrective measures are taken, policies were fine-tuned to the needs of the people, and whatever at the grassroots was required. So whatever is finally thrown, although it is a document around which advocacy can be done, activism can be done, one can push that somehow it should be mainstreamed in some policy, and changes, many changes have been brought, but it is slower than what was desired. And in that direction, I think grassroots institutions like GRAAM and similar institutions, if we have in every state, in every district, probably things may be faster, maybe it may require much more systemic change and rethinking. Do we really are satisfied with the governance where there is no distinction between the executive and the legislature? Should they have such organic linkage? In Karnataka, probably it is much more, where decentralizations are there, where probably everything is driven at the level of legislative representatives in executive. That has probably become something which needs to be introspected and debated, and then those evaluations will have much more meaning, and it will really be, in a way, make changes not only in policy, its implementation and effectivity. And the policy which was developed by GRAAM was certainly much ahead of its time, but its time has come and it needs to be further strengthened and must be universalized and used throughout India. That time, GRAAM was putting its infantile first few steps, but I was confident that in the leadership of Dr. Balasubramaniam and Dr. Basuraj, certainly they will do a good job, and they did it. And the policy is there for everyone to see, and I would invite you that you must also have a look at it. Similarly, we had later in time, maybe it was somewhere 2016 or 17, when I was given the task of establishing a new department of skill development, entrepreneurship and livelihood in Karnataka. We collaborated with GRAAM to come up with a policy on skill development, entrepreneurship and livelihood, and a governance structure which can deliver that, and certainly a very good document, base document, and basic structural recommendations were made. Many things out of that were implemented, but some of them were not implemented. The two key features which were in that very, very outstanding, I will say, because it was not there at that point of time, even in the national policy. One was mainstreaming of what is called apprenticeship and internship. It was being talked apprenticeship as an independent program, different than skill development. But what was required that every skill development program, and not only just skill development, any course which we do after probably 9th or 10th level should have some practical aspect of vocationalization. How do we use whatever knowledge or education we have in our day-to-day life? That aspect probably is missing in our education, and that policy was not just looking at vocational education, but comprehensive skill development in every aspect of whether it was education sector, education meaning not just core education department, because one thing is very misnomer that somehow education department only does education, whereas every department, whether it is animal husbandry will be there, then there also you have a university or you have colleges, etc. Health also may have a university and colleges, etc. So it's not just education, but every aspect. Sericulture department may have its own type of educational institutions and doing many type of skilling, etc. So every dimension of human activity has those educational dimension, and it is really comprehensively seen in that policy which was developed by GRAAM. I think it's a very good document, and one should refer it back. And it's very heartening that later, when new national education policy came, it really has mainstreamed that aspect of vocationalization or internship or what we call apprenticeship in every aspect of education. And that way, that policy was really something very, very commendable. And second aspect of I don't know how many of you have really closely engaged yourself in delivery of modular skill development endeavors, because today there are many of them. But in final analysis, what you may find that many of them may be certification of pre-acquired skill rather than imparting something very new. So what that policy has said, that at that point of time, because again it was precautious, it was speaking almost a decade back, that slowly these short-term things should be replaced by hardcore, moderately long vocational training, so that you get very specialized knowledge like we find in developed countries, and that is still not achieved. That is still not being talked at many forums. But in that sense, that policy recommendation was really very, very unique and something very good. It was implemented to some extent in Karnataka, but many of the aspects which that policy gave were not implemented. At present, at the grassroots, lots of opportunities are there. I think if everyone is as committed and having people in key position with integrity like Dr. Bala Subramaniam or Dr. Basaraj, then donors and others will have confidence to bring in much more resources. Today in India, there is no dearth of resource. People are ready to donate for anything if something is very convincing. And seeing this institution, GRAAM, and its decennial growth and output as well as achievements, one is confident that this field is really vibrant and strong, and from today's whatever 15 billion what we are talking, NGO sector almost 1,20,000 crore, it may grow 3 to 4 times. It is possible, although some people are probably murmuring about many type of complex, whether it is taxation issue or it is regulatory issues which are there. But those will always remain, and one has to conform to them, because those are very, very essential for a society which is rule-based and which is equitable and which is for everyone. And when GRAAM says, because we have just heard that they are able to mobilize their own resources, a grassroots institution, when it is thriving, expanding, is able to mobilize all its financial requirements, it gives confidence that those rules are not something which is restraining or limiting or prohibiting. It is facilitating the organizations, and similar organization let million grams grow in India and really make every village in India an ideal village, as our founding fathers of this country envisaged. With these, I really again commend Dr. Bala Subramaniam and Dr. Basoraj for their efforts and their team, who have made such great strides, and I am sure in coming days they will have much more similar strides. And this endeavor, the role of donors as well as promoters, like whether it is Mr. Amit Chandraji or it is like Mr. Arjun Rangaji, or it is like our Dr. M.P. Shyamji is very, very important. I really thank them also and commend them also for their support, that they have enough time for such grassroots institutions. They have participated in such function cheerfully. And nevertheless, today we don't have our Honorable Minister, Dr. H.K. Patil, whose commitment to grassroots also is really commendable. And in his absence, I must really put on record that he is always supporting such organizations and endeavors, and he has done lots for this state in development, particularly rural development and inclusive development. I also am happy to hear from Professor Unial. You are a Vice Chancellor or Pro-Vice Chancellor or both? Okay. For his nice poetry and Hindi exposition. I don't know how many of you understood his Hindi, but really it was very, very interesting. Thank you, sir. Thank you. With these words, I thank all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, for your words of encouragement. I now take this opportunity to invite Dr. M.P. Shyam to share a few words.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests on the stage and off the stage, and my dear friends. It's a great honor to stand before you today as we celebrate a decade of impactful work by GRAAM. The journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, and I'm privileged to share a moment with all of you. GRAAM's deep commitment to public policy, research, and development resonates very strongly with the vision of the RV Group of institutions. Our partnership with GRAAM has blossomed into a meaningful collaboration focused on building knowledge, sharing expertise, and contributing to the nation's development goals. One such collaboration that fills me with immense pride is our work with Niti Aayog's Development Monitoring and Evaluation Office. GRAAM and RV University are jointly conducting a nation-level evaluation study to assess the performance of the Project E-Vidhan, an initiative by the Ministry of Parliament Affairs, Government of India, aimed at digitizing the legislative process. This project is a perfect example of how academia and grassroots organizations like GRAAM can come together to bring about the transformational change. Another remarkable initiative is the ICSSR Viksit Bharat grant, where RV University's management school faculty are collaborating with GRAAM on a longitudinal study. This partnership exemplifies our shared goal of contributing to evidence-based policymaking and development research. I'm also proud of our joint efforts in launching the CSR Monitoring, Evaluation, Accountability, and Learning, that is the MEAL program, through RV's Minerva and GRAAM. This program is designed to build the capacity of corporate and development sector professionals, ensuring that they are equipped to contribute to sustainable social impact. This is yet another way in which our institutions are working together to address some of the pressing challenges of our time. I've known Dr. Balu for over 4 decades and have closely observed his remarkable work in the development sector. His vision and leadership have been an inspiration not only to me but to countless others. GRAAM, under his guidance, has become a beacon of hope, constantly striving to bring about real change in communities across the country. His dedication to people-centric governance and evidence-based policy making has made GRAAM a trusted name in the development landscape. Looking ahead, I see immense potential in expanding the scope of our collaboration. RV University and GRAAM are already exploring opportunities to build executive and knowledge courses in areas such as public policy, and developmental research. These programs will serve as platforms for equipping future leaders with skills and insights needed to navigate the complex world of governance and development. As we stand today celebrating 10 years of GRAAM's journey, I want to reaffirm the RV Group of institutions. We are eager to continue working together to contribute meaningfully to the development of our nation and to support the creation of knowledge that will shape a brighter and more inclusive future. In closing, I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to Dr. Balu and the entire team at GRAAM. Your tireless efforts and dedication have touched the lives of millions, and I have no doubt that the next decade will bring even greater achievements. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. MP Shyam, for your well wishes. To conclude this segment on the book release, I invite Professor Anita Karpur of Noble College, Bengaluru, to share a few words, few quick thoughts on the book Janmanas Ki Awaaz.
नमस्ते, मैं मंच पर उपस्थित दिग्गज एवं सभागार में उपस्थित सभी विद्वज्जनों को प्रणाम करती हूँ। डॉक्टर अनिता एस कर्पूर फ्रॉम नोबल कॉलेज बेंगलुरु, और मैं साधुवाद देती हूँ सर जी को, जिन्होंने कविता बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से पढ़ी है। सच में मेरे दिल को छू गई सर जी, बहुत अच्छी कविता थी वो। सच्ची एक नागरिक होने के नाते मैं जो बात कहने जा रही हूँ आप लोगों से कि जनमानस की बात है, आवाज जनमानस की उठनी चाहिए, तो इसके लिए एक युवा को बात करनी चाहिए, युवा उठना चाहिए। युवा को उठाने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए, उनको सिलेबस में एक कोर्स की तरह देना चाहिए। ये किताब मैं कहती हूँ कि इसमें से कोई भी एक अंश भी, अगर आप में यहाँ पर बैठे कोई भी विद्वज्जन ये पहल कर दे तो अच्छा होगा। बीबीए और बीकॉम में सिलेबस में अगर ये रख दिया जाए विश्वविद्यालय में तो और कुछ नहीं चाहिए। जी हाँ दोस्तों, जब भी हम बात करते हैं, आज वैज्ञानिक का युग है, विज्ञान का युग है, हमें हर बात के लिए सबूत चाहिए। सबूत के तौर पर बहुत सारी कहानियां हैं इस किताब में जो बालू जी ने बड़े प्यार से लिखी है, संजोया है। सच में बहुत साल हो गए थे उनको देखे हुए। सच बताऊं तो उनको देखने के लिए मैं आई, मेरी तबीयत ठीक नहीं थी, फिर मैंने कहा नहीं चलो देखते हैं बालू जी को। बहुत साल हो गए थे सर जी, धन्यवाद यहाँ आने के लिए। और सच्ची बताऊं तो कृष्ण की बात याद आती है मुझे। कृष्ण का वो श्लोक जो नेतृत्व पर आधारित है, देवान भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु परस्परम भावयन्त श्रेय परम वापस्यथा। अर्थात नेतृत्व की दृष्टि से गीता बताती है कि नेतृत्व करना है तो समूह बनाकर कार्य करना होगा। तुम दूसरों की चिंता करो, वह तुम्हारी चिंता करे। एक समूह में जाना है हमें दोस्तों। यहाँ पर समूह की बात की है और ये समूह लेकर आए हमारे डॉक्टर बालू जी। जी हाँ दोस्तों, इनकी कुछ झलक हम इनके प्रस्तुत पुस्तक में देख सकते हैं। डॉक्टर बालू जी के नेतृत्व के बारे में पुस्तक के माध्यम से पहचान सकते हैं। जी हाँ दोस्तों, प्रस्तुत पुस्तक में जहाँ पर जनमानस की आवाज उठ रही है तो आम जनता कोई नहीं वरना आदिवासी जनता को चित्रित किया इन्होंने। लगता है मानो डॉक्टर बालू जी ने लोगों को प्रेरित करते हुए, प्रभावित करते हुए चित्रित किया है। जी हाँ, सशक्त बना, रीढ़ की हड्डी के रूप में हमारे समक्ष प्रस्तुत होते हैं डॉक्टर बालू जी। देखिए, मैं भी एक साहित्यकार हूँ, मैं भी कवयित्री, और मैं भी हूँ लेखिका, कहानियाँ लिखती हूँ मैं भी, लेकिन इनकी किताब पढ़कर जो दिल को छू गई वो है आदिवासी जनता की बात और ये मिड डे मील की बात। वी आर अवेयर ऑफ एवरीथिंग, राइट? हमें पता है मिड डे मील के बारे में, एक सामान्य जनता को पता है। जिस तरह से अपी राजा की परेशानी को इंगित कर उसमें स्थित कौशल दक्षता को आगे बढ़ाया इन्होंने, सच में सजी सराहनीय है वो बात। अपी राजा के बारे में जो बताया गया है वो स्वामी विवेकानंद जी की बात को चरितार्थ करती है। कौन सी बात? जो शिक्षा मनुष्य में पहले से निहित पूर्णता को बाहर निकाल कर लाती हो, तो उस बात को चरितार्थ करती। इतना ही, हम तो किसी बात से अवगत नहीं है। सच बताएं, हम तो सिर्फ बात करने के लिए पैदा हुए लगता है, सिर्फ बात कर रहे हैं। आदिवासी जनता के बारे में अत्यंत भावुक है वो डॉक्टर बालू जी है। सच बताएं तो नेतृत्व के लिए बात कर रहे हैं। ये कहते एक अच्छा नेता सबको साथ लेकर चलता है। नेतृत्व करना कोई आसान कार्य नहीं है। जो बालू जी ने बीड़ा उठाते हुए पाठक गण तक सामान्य जनता की आवाज बनने का एक सार्थक प्रयास किया है। उन्होंने मोहन भागवत जी के शब्दों में परिस्थिति कैसी भी हो भागो नहीं, खड़े रहो डटकर, को सही ठहराया है। हम तहे दिल से डॉक्टर बालू जी का धन्यवाद करते हैं कि उन्होंने अंग्रेजी से अनुदित पुस्तक भी समाज सापेक्ष रखी है। मेरा मानना है कि जो हम अपनी भाषा में समझ सकते हैं वो दूसरी भाषा में दिल से छूना मुश्किल है मेरे हिसाब से। जो अपनी भाषा में हम एक दूसरे को छू सकते हैं। जाहिर सी बात है, मातृभाषा अगर आपकी कन्नड़ा है तो कन्नड़ा में जिस तरह से मैडम ने जो प्रस्तुत किया बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से प्रस्तुत किया, और साथ में जो हिंदी में कविता की गई, हम अपनी भाषा लेकर चलते साथ में। तो उम्मीद है कि वह ऐसी अन्य किताबें और लिखे। इनमें से नेतृत्व के बारे में किसी भी विश्वविद्यालय में एक पाठ्यक्रम के तौर पर रखा जाए तब अच्छा रहेगा। एक दरखास्त से बस आज का युवक भी नेतृत्व के बारे में सीखेगा, बस इतनी एक उम्मीद है। और हाँ, थोड़ी बहुत त्रुटियां हैं हिंदी में, मैं नहीं कहती कि त्रुटियां नहीं है, हिंदी पुस्तक में त्रुटियां हैं, लेकिन उसे बाजू में रखते हुए नगण्य त्रुटियां हैं, उसे बाजू में रखते हुए नकारिएगा मत, लेकिन पढ़िएगा जरूर इस किताब को। धन्यवाद जो मुझे मौका दिया कि मुझे आज जनमानस की आवाज तक पहुंचने का जो वक्त मिला, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। धन्यवाद।
Thank you, Dr. Anita. Despite your health, thank you, Dr. Anita. Despite your health, we are very happy to have you with us. And I request Dr. R. Balasubramaniam to kindly honor Dr. Anita. I request Ms. Pratima to kindly come on stage. I request Dr. Basvaraju to kindly honor Ms. Pratima. And I request Professor Dwarika to kindly take a seat as well. Ahead. Dr. Arm, yeah, go. We now move to a special part of the program. We would like to honor what we would regard as the pillars of GRAAM, our supporters, our former and current family members, staff, and also our trustees, who have played a very special role in, bringing GRAAM to where we are today. And I would like to take this opportunity to invite Ms. Fatima Mary and Ms. Bindu to lead the honoring session.
So today we are celebrating GRAAM's 10 years journey. We take this moment to honor those who have been our pillars of support, our former staff, current staff, partners, supporters, and vendors who have dedicated over years of services to GRAAM's growth. Your unwavering commitment, trust, and collaboration, we have been instrumental in shaping our success. Now I would like to invite the names of the individuals being honored to come up on the dais. I would also request our dignitaries on the stage to join us honoring them. Now I call Sampath Kumar. Please come. Chetan, Mr. Chetan Bopalan. Kumar, Nitesh, Venugopal, Mandela. Sampath Kumar, APG, Annapurna Printers. Annapurna Printers. Now I would like to invite the trustees. Purushottam sir, please come and honor. Prakash Nair sir and Nandini madam. Yeah, I call. Nandini ma'am. Nandini Vallat ma'am, please come up.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಸಹಕಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಬೆಂಬಲಕ್ಕಾಗಿ. ಬಿಂದು. ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಗೌರವಾನ್ವಿತ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟಿಗಳನ್ನು ಗೌರವಿಸುವ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಡಬೇಕೆಂದು ಬಿಂದೂರವರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ.
Mr. Rohit Shetty, former staff, please come up on stage. Ms. Usha, please.
ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕೆಂದು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದೇವೆ.
Usha, give them a clap. Janardhan, Raghavendra, Bhagwan Bhaiya, Ravi, Ravi CS, Rajendra Prasad. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Ravi CS, please come up on stage. Dr. Ananya, Miss Shilpa Vishal, Kumar, Mr. Kumar, okay? Gopal. Give them a big clap. Thank you, one and all. Now I would like to invite Bindu to continue the program.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome our distinguished trustees who have played a pivotal role in guiding GRAAM's mission and vision. Your leadership and expertise continue to inspire and empower us. At this point, we would like to honor our trustees with a token of our appreciation. I request our chairman, Mr. Arjun Ranga, and trustee Dr. Nandini Valat ma'am, and Prakash Nair sir, Mr. Purushottam sir, please come on the stage. I request our founder, Dr. Balu sir, to honor our trustees, and Sanjeev Kumar sir, and MP Sham sir. We like to take this moment to acknowledge the dedication and contribution of our esteemed trustees. Your commitment to GRAAM's mission has been instrumental in its growth and impact. This small gesture is a reflection of our gratitude for your tireless effort and unwavering commitment to GRAAM's success. Thank you all. Yes.
ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಡೆದು ಬಂದವರು ಹಾಗೂ ನಡೆಯುತ್ತಿರುವವರನ್ನು ಹಾಗೂ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನ ಗೌರವಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಈಗ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಕಥೆಗಳು ಹಾಗೂ ಜನಮಾನಸ್ ಕಿ ಆವಾಜ್ ಮೈ ಏಕ್ ನಾಗರಿಕ್ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಂತಹ ಲೇಖಕರು ಆದಂತಹ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿಯ ಶಕ್ತಿಯೂ ಆದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಮಾತನಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀನಿ.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲಿರುವಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕರಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದಿರತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು, ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಹಿತೈಷಿಗಳು, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ವೇಸ್ ಎ ಪ್ಲೆಷರ್ ಟು see faces that you know. I know today evening, the first message I sent Basaraj this morning as I boarded the flight was, will we be able to pull the occasion off today with so much of rain around? Because then when I was seeing the paper, it looked like Bangalore was floating. That is at least how the Delhi newspapers reported Bangalore. It was not only floating, it was also floating with vehicles. And I had to be in Odisha yesterday, and we were asked not to travel, so I thought let me come directly to Bangalore, but I was worried whether Bangalore will be another miniature Odisha, considering that the effect of the cyclone could also touch us. But despite that, to see such people come and join us itself is a commitment that you're displaying to the concept of GRAAM and its grassroots work. ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನು ಬರೆದಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಲವಾರು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಇದು ಇಡೀ ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪಬೇಕಿದ್ರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಇದು ಹಿಂದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುವಾದಿಸದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಇದು ಬಹುಶಃ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಟ್ಟಬೇಕೋ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮುಟ್ಟೋದು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗಬಹುದು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಸೂಚನೆ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು. 2015ನೇ ಇಸ್ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಐದು ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಯವರ ಕಾರ್ಯಾಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಆದಾಗ ಆಗಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಆ ಸೂಚನೆಯನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಗಂಭೀರವಾಗಿ ತಿಳಿಸಲಾಗಿತ್ತು, ಇದು ಹಿಂದಿಗೆ ಅನುವಾದಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ನನ್ನ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟಕರ ಅಲ್ಲ, 9 ವರ್ಷ ಅನುವಾದಿಸುವಂಥ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು. ಬಟ್ ಅದು ನಮಗೆ ಸೂಕ್ತವಾದ ಹಿಂದಿ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡುವಂಥವರು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಟುಡೇ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅ ವರ್ಲ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ ಯೂಸಸ್ machine translation, and so a lot of the machine translation had to be brought back to life by our translators. And one translator who was doing it told me it's impossible. He said, you cannot expect it. I would always read and say, this is not what looks like my book at all in the initial stages. And ಅವ್ರು ಭಾಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಭಾವನೆಗಳಿಂದ ಈ ಘಟನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದ್ರೋ, ಯಾವ ಭಾವನೆಯಿಂದ ಇದನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೆದ್ರೋ, ಅದೇ ಭಾವನೆಗಳಿಂದ ಯಾರ ಕೈಲೂ ಅನುವಾದಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ ಇದು, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾರು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿಲ್ಲ ಅದನ್ನ ಅಂತ. ಅದೇ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಿದಂಥ ಪ್ರತಿಮಾ ಅವರು ಆ ಭಾವನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ತಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಪುಸ್ತಕದ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮಗೆ ಭಾಳಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ, ನಾವು ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಪಬ್ಲಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯವರು ಇದನ್ನು ಅವರ ಕರಿಕ್ಯುಲಮಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾರಿಗೆ ತಂದಾಗ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೊಂದು ಭಾಳ ಒತ್ತಡ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು, ಇದನ್ನು ಹಿಂದಿಗೆ ತರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದೇ ಸಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್, ದ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ವರ್ಕ್ ವಾಸ್ ಸಪೋರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಬೈ ದೆಮ್, and they wanted to participate and make sure that this actually comes out as Hindi. ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬರೆಯುವುದು, ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದಾಗ ಒಬ್ರು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರು, ಈ ಕೊನೆಯದಾಗಿ ಬರೆದಂಥ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಅದು ಅನುವಾದ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಬಹುಶಃ ಜನವರಿ ಫೆಬ್ರವರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಹಿಂದಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನನ್ನ ಕಚೇರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ತಮಾಷೆಯಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, 9 ವರ್ಷ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಬರೆದಂಥ 5 ಸಿಟಿಸನ್ ಹಿಂದಿಗೆ ಬರಲಿಕ್ಕೆ, 4 ತಿಂಗಳು ಹಿಂದೆ ಬಿಡುಗಡೆ ಆದಂಥ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಮಾತ್ರ ಹೆಂಗೆ 6 ತಿಂಗಳೊಳಗೆ ಅದು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಾನು ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ ಒಂದೇ ಉತ್ತರ, ಪ್ರಧಾನಮಂತ್ರಿಯವ್ರ ಒತ್ತಡ ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ
ಇದಕ್ಕೂ ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಒತ್ತಡ ಇತ್ತು, ಹಿಂದಿಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ. ಈಗ ಧೈರ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಬಲ್ಲೆ ಇದು ಹಿಂದಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ. ಆ ಪುಸ್ತಕನು ಪವರ್ ವಿತಿನ್ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಕೂಡ ಹಿಂದಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಗುಜರಾತಿಗೆ ಆಗಲೇ ಅನುವಾದ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಬಹುಶಃ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಬರುವಂಥ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆಗಳಿದೆ. So writing a book is serious commitment. I think it was Thomas Carlyle, if I remember correctly, who made a very powerful statement. He's a very well-known historian, author. He said, writing a book is like being possessed by a spirit. When it possesses you, you hate it. You want to get depossessed by it. You want it to leave your body as quickly as possible. But the funny part of an author's life is the more you hanker to have it depossess you or leave your body, the moment your job is done, the book comes out, you want to invite that demon all over again and re-invite it to possess you and then start writing all over again. So this is possibly the totally 9 books have been in various forms, various places has been coming out. So one question people ask me is, when is your 10th book coming out? Now 10th book is a secret. The rest is for you all to guess what it will be about, but I'm not going to say anything more here, but the book will start and it will soon come out. But more importantly, it's not the book that matters. I think authors are all transient. People won't even remember our names, should not even in that sense. What matters is those voices. Even today, the country needs to hear voices of sanity, voices of parity, voices of justice, voices of fairness, voices of accountability, voices of transparency. There's so many different ways in which these voices need to be articulated. And the best way to articulate them is only when you live them. It's very, very, very easy to talk about things, to be prescriptive, to say this is the way society should be, this is the way corruption should be fought. But it's very difficult to lead a life of conviction, because leading a life of conviction requires extraordinary courage. Leading a life of convenience doesn't require it. Now, the more I see stuff, the higher I go to see things, more things are visible to me. I realize, very sadly, most of us lead a convenience-based life. And if you desire convenience, what happens is compromises also happen. We lose a lot of values along the way. But if you live a life of conviction, it's very painful, very hard, very frustrating to people who watch the man living that life. But I can tell you with the fullest conviction of my own experiences, my own life lived, it is hard, but it is extremely satisfying. The least, you can at least write books. But more importantly, what I ask all of you here is, you could buy them, you could borrow them. Today is a world of downloading. Now, everybody in my office will come and tell me, sir, I read your Write the Citizen. And I'd feel very happy as an author, because every author wants to listen to somebody who's read your book. And then I would ask Shilpa, how many books were sold last week? And she would send me a figure 3, 5, 7. I said, 17 people told me last week they read the book, only 5 sales. Then I would go politely ask, and then I realized when you're working with 25 to 27-year-old people, they don't even know that it is to buy a book that makes a difference. They think downloading a PDF is what makes a difference. And today I have everything on the PDF on the internet, and I was lamenting to my son, saying that, I don't know why your generation is always downloading. And then he looked at me and said, Appa, you think I bought all textbooks when I did my graduation? I also downloaded. You must feel happy that somebody thinks your book is good enough to be downloaded. You must, as an author, you arrived, so be happy, he said. So I think that's the reality of life today. People hardly buy. And GRAAM has been so kind. It's been an institution which has got so much in it. Now I want to stop talking about the books and talk about the dream. You know, GRAAM started off as a wild idea, as an argument with one of our very distinguished development economists who became a good friend, was an advisor of GRAAM for several years. And in the classroom when we were discussing, he was also was a very well-known minister of Venezuela who refused to allow himself to be corrupted, and so the president had to banish him from the country. And he continued his academic work at Harvard, and I had taken his class because his class was a very popular class in development economics. It was titled very funny. It was said, why are countries poor, fragile, and something like that. So it fascinated me, and it was somewhere equated that poor countries could also be very fragile. And so to understand and unpack this, in my journey to appreciate development from a different perspective, I took his class. It was a macroeconomics class, so and a lot of macroeconomic concepts would be discussed. And one day, I couldn't take the class anymore. I thought all this nonsense is very nice at 30,000 feet, but when you're operating at 30 feet, it doesn't make sense. So I got up and told him, I think this doesn't make sense. What you're talking is all, it doesn't work. He said, no, I've advised your then planning commission. I advised your planning commission so much and it works. Ricardo Hausman was the man. And then I said, but it doesn't work. At the ground level, I said, I don't know whom you advise, but at the ground level, I have lived for long enough to tell you that these things don't work. And what happened was something which inspired me, and that's when I decided that I'll also start teaching. It's a major argument, and he said, Balu, can you meet me after class? And in Indian academic environment, if your professor tells you meet me after class, which means that you're going to fail that subject. So I was very nervous, and I went and met him because he is possibly at some point of time on the list of potential Nobel laureates. So I went to him after hours, and he spent 4 hours discussing with me and trying to understand. He didn't know my background, he didn't know where I came from, what I was trying to communicate, and exchange of thought. And he simply said, but these are the voices academicians like me should hear. And this is exactly when our work will become meaningful. And the greatness of the man was the very next class he came back and said, whatever I taught you in the last 3 classes, please forget them. I'm going to reteach a lot of stuff. I spent the last 1 week thinking through what Balu said, and I think an aggregation of the micro doesn't necessarily mean the macro. Every micro is a unique environment, a unique universe, and it just cannot come together and be one big universe. And he was one who taught me what humility is, what learning is, how do you also expand your thinking by being appreciative of the other concepts that come around. And that's when I thought, if my bringing this knowledge is something which is exciting, how much of knowledge at the grassroots all of us are forgetting and ignoring. We just don't listen to it. And I've had my own experiences. Dr. Sanjeev is here. There's a lot of excellent bureaucrats in both national level and state level. I can tell you very clearly, when I was not in government, I saw better bureaucrats than at this point of time. Extraordinary people who really understood, people like Baligar and others who would actually come and sit with us in the forest and work along with us, talking about how tribal development can be done. It was a different era itself. Then it struck me, there are officers, if packaged and produced grassroots experiences, if you can curate them and give it to them in a way in which they can absorb it, possibly policy will also change. And with that conviction, I thought we should start an organization which will capture, because we activists are emotional, and I was a very emotional, confrontational activist. ಎಲ್ಲದಕ್ಕೂ ನಾವು ಬಾವುಟ ಹಿಡಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಸತ್ಯಾಗ್ರಹ ಅಂತ ಕೂತ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದರೆ ಭಾಷಣ ಮಾಡೋದು ಬೇರೆ, ಬುದ್ಧಿವಂತಿಕೆಯಿಂದ ಅದನ್ನು ವಾದವನ್ನು ಗೆದ್ದು ಅದನ್ನು ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ತರೋದೇ ಬೇರೆ ವಿಚಾರ. ಅದು ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಕೌಶಲ್ಯಗಳು ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ NGOs ಆಗಿ. So I thought we need an organization which can capture people's voices evidentially and not emotionally. Package it in a language which a policymaker can understand, because policymakers are not trained to capture that. They operate at a different dimension. Present it to them, and therefore an institution which can not only do community-based research, but articulate it to the policymaker, advocate for change, and that is what real work in India is going to be. That is what is going to be the next generation civil society work. And at that point of time, I named the organization GIPRA. And you'll know, it's a very crazy sounding name. It was Grassroots Initiative for Policy, Research and Action. But then I told it, spread the word around. I don't know if I sent it to Rohit and Shyam and Basaraj, the paper saying, this crazy idea, we should do this. We should all think about something like this. I don't know whether they even liked the name GIPRA. But then I had already decided. And I must also say I have a streak of stubbornness in me. I thought we'll go with GIPRA. Anita reviewed the translation of the Hindi book. Her brother Arun, I also like him as a researcher. I sent it to him and said, how does GIPRA sound to you? He said, the papra kipra chanagilla. Why don't you call it GRAAM? GRAAM is so powerful. And so what came as a casual suggestion actually stuck on, and then we had to discover a way of expanding the acronym. But then I thought, how do you run this? One man with an idea, with people with a lot of grassroots experience. Basaraj was then working with Dr. Sanjeev, I think. You were in the labor department, running the ILO project. So he had to be convinced to leave, and I must say to his, I think I must appreciate his courage today. Without any I just went to the office in near Bannerghata Road, and I told him one day, Sakri, ಇನ್ನೇನ್ರಿ ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ ನಾಳೆ ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ. He said, ಎಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಸರ್? I said, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮ ಹೇಗಿದ್ರು ಮೈಸೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಅವಕಾಶ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಬಂದ್ಬಿಡಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇದ್ಬಿಡ್ಬೋದು. Basaraj had a soft corner for his parents. ಅಪ್ಪ ಅಮ್ಮನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಕೂಡಲೇ he didn't understand what I'm telling. He thought I'm joking. Then I said, no, it's time that you make a shift. This is a dream I have, and I want to start this. He said, why me? I said, it's very difficult to get people who can be tenuous, determined, and have, be convinced that something needs to be done. And I believe you have executive skills. I think I'm growing old now. I can think, I can ideate, I can build my networks and bring it to this table, but I am now losing the ability to run and build an organization. Building an organization needs real determination, hard work, and discipline. It needs, first of all, belief in what we are doing. So I sat down, and I still remember for 2 hours in his office explaining what this dream is. I really don't know whether he saw it as a dream or he simply said, what must have been a trial. I said, I'm not too confident, so let us gestate this product within SVYM. Lot of tensions, I still remember, lot of tensions within SVYM because it's completely different kind of an organization. A research organization carries different cultural baggages. A research organization brings a different mindset. It also brings different kinds of egos. An implementing organization brings the ego of implementation, execution, and we are saving the world. A research organization brings a different kind of ego, an intellectual ego. I know how to save the world. So matching both these egos, putting together in one box was a great challenge for me. So 3 years, somehow struggled. Sometimes it works if you're a founder of both the organizations, you can sort of forcibly demand compliance. It worked for some time. Then I realized that this can't continue. One, each one can rub off on the other. And the second reason is if you want an objective, independent research organization which can look back at your own other organization and say you're not doing a good job, it must be completely separate, independent. At the same time, emotionally, I thought the umbilical cord is important, so it was housed in Mysore. So it was time for us to separate it out. So what started as an experiment for me sentimentally on the Vivekananda Jayanti of 2011, on the January 12th, informally as GRAAM, evolved formally on the 5th of March in 2014 as a formal trust. And, extraordinary people came together, and Purushottam is there from the beginning. Oh, he's gone back there. And at that time, again, a researcher who I love him as a person, but I hate him as a researcher, Dr. Vivek, because he's so demanding and so micro-detailed. Even a full stop, if it moves a little more, 1 millimeter to the other side, he will say, this is wrong, you have to push it back. And I'm blessed that he stays with me in Delhi. And he and the friend Raghavan from Mysore, I said, we have to make the organization happen. So we just brought people together, started it. And then when it started evolving and growing, and we realized this idea is powerful, this idea can work, people recognize it. So whenever I'd go back to Harvard, I was on the board of the Kennedy School, so I would go back to Kennedy School and I would sit down with Ricardo and others and talk to them. And he said, this is exactly what Dr. Sanjeev Kumar said, every district you said we need. Ricardo said every country needs a think tank like this, somebody which can understand the connections between the grassroots and the policymaker at the top, and how do you do it, make it happen. So each person has contributed, so many people. Idea can be one person's. Idea is useless if you don't have a great team who believes in that idea, passionately works hard for it, and converts it into something useful for society. So Basaraj and his team, entire team, so many people. Rohit is here, Shyam was there, Chandrika is now, she's now Dr. Chandrika, at least, and Shyam also has now become Dr. Shyam. So I think these people finally realized that you also need what the world recognizes a degree. And Basaraj also, when he started, he didn't have a doctor with him. He also decided to go get a doctorate. So this has spawned a culture where academia and practitioners can come together. It was also born out of a failure of mine. If at all I can call something I have failed in life, was at the Kennedy School, I was a fellow of the Hauser Center for Civil Society. It was a university-wide center where we had access to all the university intellectual resources. And as a fellow there, my job was, primary research was to actually demonstrate, because I was a practitioner, the university saw me as a practitioner. How do you combine my practitioner experience with the academic wisdom that the university had, bring it together and create a development narrative. Oh, I had fun. Practitioners believe that these idiots sitting out there in their ivory towers know nothing of the ground, so they are useless, so they are extremely judgmental. As much as academicians sitting at the top feel that these idiots down there, they know nothing. So both call each other idiots, but both know so much. It's just that both don't have the language to communicate to each other. So after 6 months of a very messy fellowship, I finally realized this marriage will never work. And even if they marry forcibly, it will be a divorce every day. So I thought, but then in India, if we can create this product and make it successful and tell the world that we can celebrate it, and today the wedding's 10th anniversary is happening. So in a sense, practitioners, academicians have come together. And a lot of excellent people have come. Ananya is sitting here. Her commitment and conviction in qualitative research can be a pain sometimes because she's so devoted to it. She will not compromise even a little bit on the FGD she does or something else she does. So you will fall in love with the methods and the determination of people to stick to their methods. I think that's what makes GRAAM special. GRAAM is not special because of everybody agreeing on everything. GRAAM is special because we are determined not to agree on everything, make our points in our own ways, but once we all see sense in something, coming together and working for it. I think that has been a strength, and this strength I'm sure will lead us. Basaraj was talking about a community action lab. Our other trustee, Dr. Nandini, is not here. She has graciously, generously donated a prime property in Mysore for that. And we're hoping that soon we'll have a very real brick and mortar community action lab. I now operate in a space where I'm extremely nervous about anything brick and mortar, because I'm supposed to functionally oversee hundreds of brick and mortar institutions of the national government, and anything which is brick and mortar, I start shivering inside. And we have built one of the world's largest learning platforms for the country. And after seeing that, I'm determined the Community Action Lab will have a small office but a large virtual lab. And so that will be the way for the future to grow. I think digital is more real than real nowadays. And if we discover ways in which we can expand, and several favorite projects of mine are there in GRAAM. Arogya Shreni is one of them, where we also got an award for the work we did. It's only unfortunate that we could not embed it in the system of the state. And more that we do such experiments, at best, we can create experiments for demonstration at the micro level. I can tell you with all the conviction today of experience, if you want anything to be macro, if you want it to make an impact nationally, we have to work with the state. State could be a state government, it could be a panchayat, it could be a district government, or it could be national government. The more GRAAM works, and so GRAAM's attitude from day one has been collaborative advocacy. We don't say we know it all, we say we have discovered something, we bring some resource to the table, the state brings some resource to the table. Together can we make a bigger difference than what we can individually. This collective spirit, these collaborative learning processes has been the pillars on which we exist. And I'm sure the DNA continues. Like Basaraj said, something precious to all of us are these values. It should be community-based, it should be collaborative. It's not a confrontation. It should be the respect to all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. More importantly, it exists because it has to reflect the voice of the people that we stand for. And if that spirit continues, GRAAM has a great future. I'm truly looking forward to, I'm hoping to be around for 10 more years. So I'm truly looking forward to see what will be the next 10 years for such a wonderful organization, such a wonderful set of people. And more than anything, the wonderful trustees. When I was called off for something else, we always believe, most Indian organizations have a disease, the founder's disease, and nobody wants to let go. And if they even let go, they think that they have to only let it partially go. But I think as GRAAM is concerned, when the call came and I requested Arjun, and he just took it, and today GRAAM is growing as ever, continuing in its own pace. So I think finally we have proved it's the ideology, it's the beliefs, it's the work and the usefulness of society that keeps an organization alive. People are incidental. What matters is the purpose. And that is something which is very strong, and that will take us a long way. So I wish all the trustees, thank them for their services, thank all of you for the support, and I know together the next 10 years will also fly by. Thank you.
ಗ್ರಾಮ್ನ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಕ ದಿನಗಳು ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಮುಂದಿನ ಗುರಿಯನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣವನ್ನು ಕುರಿತು ಮಾತನಾಡಿದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ದಯಮಾಡಿ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಹಾಗೂ ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ ಸರ್ ಅವರು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಆರ್ ಬಾಲಸುಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣ್ಯಂ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಗೌರವಿಸುವ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಸನ್ಮಾನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಡಬೇಕೆಂದು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತೇನೆ. ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಯ ಚಿಂತಕರು, ಲೇಖಕರು, ಸಂಶೋಧಕರು ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಹಲವಾರು ಸ್ವಯಂ ಸೇವಾ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳ ನಿರ್ವಹಣೆ ಯಶಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮದೇ ಆದಂಥ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಯುಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಧಾರೆ ಎರೆಯುವ ಮೂಲಕ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣದಲ್ಲಿ ತೊಡಗಿ ಹಲವಾರು ಜನರಿಗೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಯುವತಿಯರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೇರಕ ಶಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಬಾಲು ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇವೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಸಹಕಾರ ಹಾಗೂ ತಮ್ಮ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ನಿರ್ಮಾಣದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂಥ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಈಗ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷತೆಯನ್ನು ವಹಿಸಿರುವ ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಅರ್ಜುನ್ ರಂಗ ಸರ್ ಅವರು, ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥಾಪಕ ನಿರ್ದೇಶಕರು ಎನ್ ರಂಗರಾವ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಹಾಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಾಮ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷರು, ದಯಮಾಡಿ ಮಾತನಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೇನೆ.
Dignitaries on the dais. ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಯಾಕೆ ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್ ಹಾಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು. You know, who doesn't know Dr. Balu? And I think all of us are here for you, Dr. Balu, not any other reason, right? ನನಗೆ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ವಯಸ್ಸಿಂದ ಮನೇಲಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಂಬಂದೇನೆ SVYM ಎಷ್ಟು, they're doing so much, making such a big difference ಅಂತ. But I'd never actually had the opportunity to work or do anything with respect to, giving back to society. So when Dr. Balu called me and said, Itara, we have started an initiative for GRAAM, I wanted to just see how you can come and get involved. I just came there and then I said, okay, what difference are we going to make ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದೆ. ಇಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆನ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ವಾ, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಏನು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಂದರು. ಹಾಗಂದ್ರೆ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿದೆ ನಾನು. We're actually going to do a lot of research ಅಂದರು. So I didn't actually understand research ಅಂದರೆ, I come from a complete consumer product background, do branding, research. We do focus groups, we understand what the need gap is in society, and then we create a policy advocacy document that either government or corporate can follow, and then we do an impact study subsequently to measure the progress within the policy guidelines that have been given, and then we continue doing that anta kelidru. Then I was really surprised that there are actually companies that pay for such a service, and this was in 2018, I think. That's when I came in. He said, no, I don't see that as an opportunity right now, but the world will definitely need guidance in that. And I think that was Dr. Balu's vision, and lo and behold, we are here 10 years later, and I had the experience. We have now created a NR Community Center for Skill Development, and it actually, adu utnadane agidde from a policy document that was created from GRAAM. And today we have made a difference to almost 3,000 underprivileged girls because the need gap was identified by GRAAM. So what I want to tell all of you is, what was a small idea, a vision that Dr. Balu had, and I think with the unstinted support of Dr. Basaraj, and I'd like to really say that each and every person who's been connected with GRAAM, more so the staff of GRAAM, they have spent sleepless nights of commitment, effort, hard work in bringing GRAAM to where it is today. And I've seen they had their backs to the walls many times, but they fought hard, fought with bravado, and built what the institution has become today. And I think each and every one who was part of the trust throughout, some have been there and some have continued to be there. All of them have had the same shared vision that Dr. Balu had, and as the managing trustees of GRAAM, we vouch to continue to do our best to support this grand vision that you have, that I think will build a great nation going forward. And I am at the strong belief that our country needs more Dr. Balus, for sure. Okay, you are what is right and great in this nation of ours. You represent what is true in who we all want to become going forward as well. So that being said, I think we have a great nation. I keep saying that the next 20 years are going to be revolutionary for all of us. We're at the cusp of becoming, a developed nation, and organizations like GRAAM will actually take us there as well. So I really thank Dr. Shyam for assuring his support going forward for GRAAM. Thank you so much for doing that. And sir, I think you brought up a very, very valid point. You raised questions about legislative and the executive. I think it's very worth pondering as well. It captures people's voices with evidence, I think, is what GRAAM stands for, and we'll continue to do that. So thank you all so much for being here, and thank you, Dr. Balu, for giving me the opportunity to just have a small glimpse of how we can make a difference to the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arjun Ranga. We now come to the closing section of our program. And of course, we wouldn't be able to close this without expressing our gratitude. I invite Mr. Janardhan, Head Programs at GRAAM, to proffer the vote of thanks. Yes.
ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೆದಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೆ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಶುಭ ಸಂಜೆ. ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನ ಅರ್ಪಿಸಲು ನನಗೆ ಗೌರವವಿದೆ. ಇಂದು ದಶವಾರ್ಷಿಕೋತ್ಸವ ಸಮಾರಂಭದ ಅಂತಿಮ ಘಟ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ತಲುಪಿದ್ದೇವೆ, ಮುಕ್ತಾಯದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆಯ ಸದ್ಗುಣಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠವಾದದ್ದು ಮಾತ್ರವಲ್ಲ, ಇತರ ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಮೂಲವಾಗಿದೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ಈ ದಿನದ ಒಂದು ಅಂತಿಮ ಘಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ನನ್ನ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಕರ್ತವ್ಯವಾಗಿದೆ. ಮೊದಲಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ವೇದಿಕೆಯ ಮುಂಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪದಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳು, ನಮ್ಮ ವೆಂಡರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ನಿಮಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಎಲ್ಲರ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಆಗ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಿತೈಷಿಗಳ ಪರವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಉತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಚಿಂತನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡ ಕೇಂದ್ರೀಯ ಆಡಳಿತಾತ್ಮಕ ನ್ಯಾಯಮಂಡಳಿಯ ನಿವೃತ್ತ IAS ಅಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಾದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸಂಜೀವ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮುಂಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಾಗೂ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಮಿತಿ ಟ್ರಸ್ಟ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆದ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ MP ಶ್ಯಾಮ್ರವರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮುಂಭಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಇವರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರು ಕೃತಜ್ಞತೆಯ ಮೂಲಕ ಸನ್ಮಾನಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. Thank you, sir. So finally, I would like to thank to all you are present here, making the time to be with us today and helping us make this event good success. Thank you all. Hage
before we close, I request all the staff of GRAAM to kindly come up on stage. And the trustees as well. There's one person who truly deserves our gratitude and felicitation, and our ship wouldn't be sailing forward through thick or thin if it wasn't for his guidance and encouragement. So Dr. Baswaraju, we would like to felicitate you.
ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯನ್ನು ಮುನ್ನಡೆಸುವಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಯಕರಾಗಿ ನಿಂತು ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಹಾಗೂ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿಗೆ ಪೂರಕ ಚಿಂತನೆಗಳನ್ನು, ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನಾಗಿ ರೂಪಿಸಿ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ಸಿನೆಡೆಗೆ ಕೊಂಡೊಯ್ಯುವಲ್ಲಿ ನಾಯಕರಾಗಿ ನಿಂತಿರುವಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ R. ಬಸವರಾಜು ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠ ಸರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದಂತಹ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು, ಹಾಗೆ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿಗಳಿಂದ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದಂತಹ ವಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಸರ್. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಸರ್.
Thank you to everyone who stayed back here for your patience and your kind listening. We close our ceremony today with the national anthem. I request you to kindly rise.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय।
you